Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you enjoy exclusive 18+ fanfiction stories, make sure to check out my Patreon links in the description. And if you want more awesome fanfics like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Alright, without further delay, let's jump straight into today's video. The train rattled. Izuku watched his reflection in the window bounce, freckles flickering with the light. He breathed, steady like he'd practiced. Entrance exam day, he muttered. Don't be weird. A sharp thump on his shoulder. You talking to yourself already, green bean? The girl with pink skin and horns leaned into his space, grin wide. Her eyes were playful, not cruel. He blinked. Hi. Mina Shido, she said. Nervous. You look nervous. Which is normal. But you're vibrating. I'm okay, he said. Just. Ready. Ready or I didn't sleep ready. He tried a smile. Both. She laughed. The tension in his chest loosened a notch. The paw crackled. Next stop, Aldera High Station. Across the aisle, a short-haired girl with earphone jacks pretended not to listen. Her foot tapped in time with the train. She glanced over at his mutter and then away like she regretted the curiosity. He caught her eye. Hi. She blinked. Hey. Izuku Midoriya, he said. Good luck today. Jiru. Kyoka. She dragged a fingernail across the seat. Yeah. You too. The doors opened. The current of test takers swept them onto the platform and up the broad stairs. Morning air was crisp. UA towered like a promise. Danger sense pricked, a single spark at the base of his skull. He paused. A girl ahead stumbled, heel catching on the step. He moved without thought. Black whip snapped out, thin and controlled, catching her backpack before she face planted. She yelped, blinked at him, and flushed a little. Sorry. I swear I wasn't born to trip, she said, flustered and sunshine bright. Thanks. Anytime. He reeled Black Whip back and let it fade. I'm a Chaco. You're a Raka. She hugged her bag. You. That was a weird rope. Elastic support gear, he said. Not a lie. His heart hammered anyway. Cool. She beamed. Good luck. She ran to catch up with a stern-looking boy with chopping hand motions. Izuku exhaled slowly and kept walking. Black Whip had stayed tame. Good. Don't show off. Don't scare anyone. The gates loomed. President Mick bellowed instructions until the speakers shook. Izuku filed into the testing hall for the written. He scribbled with calm hands. Quirks were one thing. Strategy and law were another. He'd prepped because of course he had. Between sections his thumb traced grooves in his pencil. 1 minute of glassy fluorescent light became 10 seconds in his head. Vestige space jolted like a dropped radio coming to life. Green static, lines of light. Banjo leaned in, elbows on an invisible ledge, grinning. Oi, baby sixth. Keep the whip cool. Remember the pressure limits. I will, Izuku told him. I practiced the 2-5 meter range. Practice isn't the exam, and muttered. Your nerves spike, danger sense spikes with it. It'll feel like bees in your skull. Breathe. Nana hovered, cape rippling in a wind that didn't exist. Don't overfocus, she said gently. Float works best when your center's quiet. The third folded his arms. Fajin needs stored motion. Don't chase big wind-ups. Build rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. The second's eyes cut sideways, heavy and cool. Gearshift hummed in Izuku's bones like a held engine. Use first gear to stabilize, not attack, he said. Jumping straight to overdrive will chew your muscles and your time. Smokescreen's owner 6 nodded. And don't choke yourself out. I won't. Izuku felt each piece like a tool on a belt. Weight. Comfort. Cost. I'll keep the output under 20% unless I need more. 20. All Might's laugh rolled like sunlight through a stormcloud. He stood farther back, soft-eyed, proud. Your restraint outpaces my old recklessness. I don't want to fail because I look scary, Izuku said. It came out small. You won't, Nana said. You look like a boy saving people, kid. The written section ended. He turned it in and didn't look back. They poured onto the mock city fields later, 4 giant arenas gleaming under winter blue sky. A steel gate clanged shut behind them. Cement blocks stacked like a fake urban maze. Examinees stretched, fidgeted, showed each other their gear. The stern boy from earlier Tenuida turned karate chop hand slicing air. Excuse me, he said. That business with the rope, please refrain from using support items to trip others before the test begins. It's unbecoming. Izuku blinked. I didn't trip anyone. That girl stumbled, and you. I caught her, Izuku said. He kept his voice mild. So she wouldn't get hurt. Ida faltered. Then. Apologies. It's okay. Izuku offered a little nod. Good luck. Ida adjusted his glasses until the glare hit his eyes, then marched away, mortified. From somewhere behind Izuku, Kyoka coughed to cover a laugh. Eyes intense, she murmured. He's focused, Izuku said. I respect that. Present mix countdown began. 3 2 1 go. No starting gun. Just chaos. Izuku moved. First gear. The world sharpened. The ground shoved back harder. He leaned forward and let Fajin collect in his legs in small punctual bursts. Tap, tap, tap. Smoke screen trickled from his shoulder like fog and he cancelled it. Not yet. The one-pointer word from behind a billboard. Danger sense whispered. Left. He slid, kicked. 20% blasted through his calf and foot in a clean line. The metal knee joint popped out like a button. The robot toppled, hissing sparks. 2 points. He didn't stop to watch it fall. He ran. Mina blurred at his side, skating on pink acid like it was a dance floor. Hey, green bean. He glanced. Watch your shoes. My acid doesn't eat my snacks or my shoes, she said. I learned that the very hard way. The two-pointer loomed. Izuku flicked Black Whip to the railing above and yanked himself into a swing, momentum stacking into his hips. He cut the line, twisted midair, and planted a heel in the robot's face. Fajin popped. Stored motion released in a burst. The head snapped off. He landed light, float sneaking into his step so his joints took less stress. Mina whooped. Clean. Keep moving, he said. They're timed. The city coughed out more robots. Examinees scattered like fish avoiding a shark. Kyoka punctured a one-pointer's sensors with her jacks and flinched at the recoil. Oh. You okay? Izuku called. Fine. She shook her hands out, grimacing. I knew that'd sting. Try aiming at joints, he said. Less force required. Look at Mr. Quirk tip, she shot back, but changed angles and popped the elbow actuator. The arm fell clean off. Danger sense rang sharper. A two-pointer rolled from a side street, drills whining. It bore down on a kid who tripped and lost his glasses. Move. Izuku yelled, sprinting. The kid froze. Of course he did. The sound was loud and ugly, and fear makes statues. Smokescreen burst around Izuku like a low cloud. He hated the way it made him breathe slower. He kept it in, a veil. Black Whip lanced through the haze and wrapped the kid's waist. He hauled him clear, slid on float through the hiss of a drill ripping asphalt. The machine turned, blind in the smoke. Izuku cut left, fed Fajin, and popped into its flank. His fist severed a cable, pulled clean through, and the robot fell dead. The saved boy panted, eyes wide. Thank you. Run that way, Izuku said, pointing. Safer there. The boy bolted. Calls of nice and sweet pull bounced off the buildings. Izuku shrugged them off. He didn't need praise. He needed points and people upright. He kept moving. 15 minutes in, sweat dampened his hair under the hood. His lungs felt the smokescreen's cost. He let the quirk cool down completely. Danger sense still needled, but softer now that he'd settled. Float made his steps featherlight, reducing strain as he pivoted. He counted without looking like he counted. Score? Mina asked, skating backwards for a second, acid hissing under her heels. Enough, he said. You? More than enough, she grinned. I like breaking bots. It's therapeutic. Ioka jogged up, breathing hard. You two are ridiculous. Team up. Mina said. We can sweep a block. I'll roam, Izuku said. Watch the power plant alley. They're dumping two-pointers there. How do you even? Pattern, he said. They seed clusters. Mina's grin widened. Nerd. Okay, I'll check. They split. He vaulted a low car, Black Whip hooking and unhooking with a rhythm that felt like a song he'd practiced since childhood. That part was almost true. The years of hiding had been full of notebooks and secret workouts under bridges. He'd only added one for all to that dance later, like a deeper drumline under the melody. He cut through a narrow lane and skidded to a stop. A girl with frog-like eyes and long black hair balanced on a ledge, tongue whipping out to tug a kid from danger. Two one-pointers closed in on her flank. She spun to look and misjudged the distance by a hair. Need a hand? He called. She tilted her head. If you could, please. He didn't overthink the joy he felt at her calm. He snapped two short Black Whips to their knees, tripped them, then kicked both cores with efficient low-output strikes. Thanks, she said. I'm Tsayu. Tsayu Asui. But you can call me Tsu. Izuku, he said. Midoriya. Nice save. You didn't even pant while talking. You're strong, she said frankly. He shrugged. I trained. You like saving more than scoring, she added after a beat. He blinked. Is that bad? It's very hero-like. She smiled. It was small and simple. We should keep going, ribbit. They did. Tsu's tongue snagged a boy's collar 3 meters out like it weighed nothing. Izuku cleared space for her. Their rhythm formed quick. Not romance. Not anything as silly. Just trust, the first rung on a ladder he didn't dare name. The timer ticked down in bursts from present mix speakers. 3 minutes remaining. The air changed. Danger sense didn't prick. It detonated. A screaming star in his skull. He flinched. Float caught his stumble. "What is it?" Sue asked. "Something big," he said. 0-pointer. The street shuddered as a shadow fell over the block. They both looked up. It was a skyscraper with legs. A faceless head. A body of moving scaffolds and plates. Examinees scattered like ants from a kicked hill. "Run," Sue offered. "Run," he agreed. They turned, then he heard it. A small pained sound. The kind nearly drowned by metal groans and present mixed distant hype. He looked left and saw a Chako pinned under a slab of cracked concrete, ankle twisted, breathing sharp and quick. Dust coated her cheeks like flour. Her eyes were wide and stubborn. His stomach dropped through his shoes. He hated that feeling. It was the feeling from that day with the sludge in Katsuki's eyes blown wide by panic. It was the feeling from when he was 7 and a teacher screamed like he was a monster. It turned the world into a tunnel with one person at the end. "Aizu?" Sue started. "Oh," he said. He didn't wait for an answer. He ran. Ajin stacked in fast taps. Black whip snaked under the slab and around a bent rebar. He tested stress, angle, weight. The 0-pointer's shadow rolled over them like a tide. "Hey," he said like they were at a crosswalk. "Hey, Achako." She blinked. You again." "And you again," he said. "Can you move your arms?" "Yeah." "Good. Cover your head when I lift." "That's insane," she said, shaky laugh breaking through the fear. "Probably," he said. He smiled at her. "Trust me." She stared at his freckled face for half a second. "Okay." He went to work. He let Black Whip take the weight a centimeter. Float took his own weight, not hers, reducing friction. 20% through his legs and back, careful lines of force, not spikes. "Second." He whispered, throat tight. "First gear," the second said in his head. "Smooth. Don't overheat." He eased the slab up 6 centimeters, just enough for her to pull her leg free with a hiss. She tucked, rolled her foot, screamed at the motion, and she bit down on it. "Got you," he said. He scooped her until she floated on instinct, 0G easing the carry. She touched her fingers to his sleeve and the rubble around them drifted up like balloons. "Sorry," she winced. Reflex. "I'm grateful," he said. They moved. Danger sense was noise and heat in bees as the 0-pointer's hand crashed through a building above. Dust became fog. The machine steps turned the road into waves. He set a Chako down near the lip of a safer alley. Sue stood there, ready, tongue anchored to a lamppost like a lifeline. "I'll get her out," Sue said. Chako grabbed his sleeve. You're not going after that thing, right? It's not worth points." Izuku looked at the 0-pointer. At all the examinees still within reach of its lashing arm. At the girl whose ankle throbbed under her boot. He heard Banjo chuckle in his skull. "Being a hero isn't about points," Banjo said warmly. "Go do the thing, kid." Izuku smiled at Chako. "Thank you for saying it. That means you'll be a good one." She flushed. Surprised and flustered. "Wait." He was already moving. He stepped onto Z. Float engaged fully. Air felt like a floor. He kept it low, close to the ground, inches then feet. Black Whip flicked to an upper window, pulled, released, pulled again. He rose to the 0-pointer's knee like a mosquito finding a vein. Ajin thrummed. Tap, tap, tap. Stored. His muscles wanted to release. He denied them once. Twice. The second frowned in his head, then didn't. "Third gear gets you there fast," the second said. "But you won't stop in time." "I know," Izuku said. 1.5. "Not a gear," the man deadpanned. "It is now." He pushed it. Hour licked bones and tendon. Not the wild blaze that broke him at the sports festival. A tamed heat. He used it like a scalpel. He slid along the 0-pointer's thigh in a controlled vector, boots kissing metal and sparking harmlessly. He fed Fajin into a snap at a crucial joint, not a punch, a precise sideways heel tap. The plate shifted. He found the seam and wedged Black Whip into it, anchoring his tiny weight against a thing that weighed a city. He pulled. It gave half a centimeter. "Need more," he hissed. "Need less," Nana said. "Use gravity." "Right." He cancelled float in a heartbeat and let himself drop, Whip taut. Gravity did the pulling he couldn't. The seam yawned. He hit float again at the last safe second and hung, breathing hard. One more seam. He cut the actuator cable with a short OFA burst through his hand like a heated blade. Sparks flared. The 0-pointer's knee howled with metal on metal. It buckled. He jumped clear on float, then used Black Whip to redirect falling debris, grabbing a long plate and flinging it sideways to crash harmlessly between 2 buildings instead of into the street. "Hey." Mina's voice, bright and shocked. "You're insane." "Only a little." He yelled back and meant it. The 0-pointer reeled. It wasn't down. It rotated, arm sweeping like a building-sized swatter. Izuku's mouth went dry. "Second." "Fine," the second said, dry as dust. 2 seconds. Top gear. Then drop. Izuku hit it. The world stretched, then snapped tight. He was a bullet. Air slammed his cheeks. tendons screamed behind his knees. He was on the arm in a flash, and then he was gone again, off, stepping on nothing, float catching, dropping, catching, making a staccato ladder in midair to bleed velocity without snapping his own neck. He landed hard on the wrist assembly, breath tearing his lungs. He shoved power into a fingertip, not a fist. A surgical pop to the hydraulic line. Fluid sprayed. The hand slowed. He dropped, took float off, fell, turned it on, floated, turned it off. Each switch ate focus. Each switch gave him control. The arm hit the ground with a bang that shook teeth. Midoriya. Present Mick yelled through the speakers. Going for style points, listener. Izuku didn't have breath to answer. He moved because if he stopped now, he would feel the shaking in his own legs. Time. Present Mick roared. 30 seconds. People sprinted for last points. The zero-pointer shivered like a dying animal and fell onto its side with a quake that knocked down a row of signs. Dust rose in a wave and settled like snow. Izuku hovered for a second, then let float go and collapsed into a kneel. His thighs burned. His calves felt like packed clay. He breathed through the urge to tremble and forced his heart down to something like normal. Someone approached. "Are you okay?" Achako asked breathlessly, leaning on Tsu's shoulder. Her ankle was wrapped with a strip of shirt that had, 5 minutes ago, been Iida's sleeve. He stood there too, flustered and worried. "I'm okay," Izuku said. His voice was hoarse. "You?" "We're fine," Tsu said. "Thank you for lifting that rock." He lifted a rock like it was a pillow, Achako huffed. "Who does that?" "Heroes. Heroes do that." "Also he flew," Kyoka said from behind them, deadpan. "No big deal, just flew like a low-budget UFO." Mina popped into his peripheral with a grin that could have powered a small town. "Okay, Green Bean. That was cool." He reddened. "It was. Careful." "Careful is cool," Mina said, pointing at his legs. "Those look like jelly." "They are," he admitted. Sitsu said. "Don't pretend you're fine. It's annoying." "Yes ma'am." The chorus of groans and laughs bubbled around them as the exam ended. Recovery girl and staff bustled in through the alleys with robots that looked much friendlier. She eyed Izuku's knees. "You didn't blow them?" "No ma'am." "Good." She pecked his forehead anyway, and energy sank into his exhausted muscles like warm tea. "That's for not being reckless enough to keep me awake all night." He bowed deeply. "Thank you." Achako tugged Tsu's sleeve. Could we do socialization later?" Tsu blinked. "Socialization? Like talking," Achako said, sheepish. "I suck at talking to new people. But you saved me, and that feels like I don't know, a thing." "It's a thing," Tsu agreed. She looked at Izuku. "You too?" "Yeah," he said. His ears burned. "I mean, if you want." Midoriya Iida blurted, finally unable to hold it in. "Your conduct was admirable. My earlier accusation was unforgivable. I apologize." "It wasn't unforgivable," Izuku said. He rubbed the back of his neck. "You misread what you saw. It happens. You helped wrap Achako's ankle. That's what matters." Iida straightened, eyes bright behind his glasses. "You're very gracious." Mina leaned on Izuku's shoulder like they'd known each other for years. "We're definitely doing a post-exam snack run," she declared. "I require sugar. Froppy, earphone jack, gravity girl, green bean. Engine guy. Let's go." "Froppy?" Tsu repeated. "It's cute," Mina said. "I like it," Tsu decided. Kyoka sighed. "Do I get a say?" "No," Mina said. She softened. "You okay?" Kyoka shrugged. "Yeah. I didn't expect the floating stairs thing. That was a lot." Achako's eyes flicked to Izuku and then away. "Yeah." He felt the unasked question in the air. "What was that? What are you?" He didn't flinch. He didn't run. "Let's talk after snacks," he said. "I'll tell you what I can." "Aw, man," Kyoka muttered. "Mysterious." Mina grinned wider. "Mystery plus snacks. Best combo." They shuffled toward the exit together, a messy cluster of tired teenagers limping and laughing and comparing bruises. On the way, Izuku's phone buzzed. A text. "You didn't break anything, did you?" Number blocked, but he knew the cadence of that worry. He typed back. "No, All Might. I'm okay." Then added. "It worked." A reply. "I watched. You made it look easy." It wasn't here out. Gearshift still chews stamina. Smokescreen messed with breathing. Danger sense went nuclear. But I kept it soft. I didn't scare her. He didn't name which her. He didn't have to. They sprawled on the public green outside the gate with vending machines, snacks and canned coffee. Mina monologued with her hands. Tsu chewed methodically. Kyoka pretended she wasn't listening, but asked quick, sharp questions at the right times. Achako leaned back on her palms and made little delighted noises at certain snacks like every bite was a miracle. "So," Kyoka said finally, toeing the ground. "Quirk rundown." Izuku swallowed a mouthful of water. He kept his voice level. I have strength and speed at controlled levels. I can float. I can make short-range tendrils. I can store motion and release it. I can fog things up a little. And sometimes I can shift how momentum applies for a second or two. Mina's eyes sparkled. You're a Swiss Army knife. It sounds like a lot, Ochako said. She bit her lip. Does it hurt? Everything costs something, he said. If I go too hard, I break. If I oversmoke, I pass out. If I hold top gear too long, my muscles feel like chewed gum. Gross, Kyoka said. Then. Kind of cool that you said it out loud. I like knowing my limits, he said. It helps me stay nice. Nice? Mina echoed, amused. Not scary, he corrected softly. They watched him for a second. Sue's gaze was direct and not unkind. Is being scary a fear? Yes. Ochako nudged his shoulder with 2 fingers. Her smile was small and honest. You weren't scary. You were kind of shiny, Mina said. The cool kind of shiny, not the weirdo kind. Kyoka smirked. I've seen weirdo shiny. You weren't that. Thanks, he said. His throat felt thick. Mina lay back on the grass with dramatic flair. Okay, life plan. We all get in, we all hang out, we all eat food places I pick, and we don't die. That's a good plan, Sue said. Ambitious, Kyoka added. Hey. Ochako leaned forward. Can I get your number? Izuku blinked. Huh? Don't make that face, she said, blushing harder. You saved me. I owe you curry or something. Also, I want to talk about your flying stairs because that was insane. He fumbled his phone out so fast he almost threw it. Their hands bumped clumsily while swapping contacts. Mina cackled quietly. Kyoka made a face to hide a grin. Sue watched, unblinking, like it was a frog documentary. Names populated his screen. Ochako, Mina, Kyoka, Sue. He added tiny notes because of course he did. Gravity quirk sweet focus. Acid skater chaotic good. Earjacks deadpan sharp. Frog calm honest. Group chat? Mina asked. Yes. Let's not spam it, Kyoka begged. Mina ignored her and made it anyway. Name ideas. Don't be weird, Sue said. Fine. Not weird friends. That's weirder, Kyoka deadpanned. She typed anyway. Izuku felt his phone buzz in his hand with their first dumb stickers. He smiled. It felt like something real and gentle poking through the cracked pavement of everything else he had to carry. As the sun tilted, the crowd thinned. They drifted to the station in pairs and threes. Ochako limped less now, the wrap holding. Sue mapped a path with her phone and offered shortcuts without sounding like she was showing off. Mina narrated the entire walk like a sports commentator. Kyoka walked close enough to bump shoulders, but not close enough to make it weird. Results come by mail, right? Ochako asked. Or do they just send pigeons? Mayleida said from a few steps behind them, still hovering like a politely concerned satellite. Within 10 days. 10. Mina threw her arms up. Cruel. Kyoka rolled her eyes. It's fine. We'll just do bad karaoke to pass time. We'll do good karaoke, Mina corrected. We're naturals. I am not, Sue said flatly. You'll be adorable, Mina decreed. I like adorable, Ochako said, then clapped a hand over her mouth like she hadn't meant to say it out loud. Izuku laughed. It startled him. He hadn't heard that sound from himself today. The others looked over and smiled like he'd done something brave. On the train, they packed into a corner and swayed with the tracks. Izuku leaned back against the door and let his eyes half close. His legs ached. His head held a soft echo of danger sense that felt like lingering thunder. He breathed through it and catalogued everything. He'd pushed gearshift for 2 bursts. He'd used smokescreen twice, light. He'd kept float under control. He'd stacked Fajin and safe rhythms. He'd let Blackwhip be a tool, not a lash. He'd pulled a girl free and didn't break anything. He'd walked away without looking like a monster. He opened one eye. Ochako sat across, chin on her hand, studying him with the openness of the sun. What? Nothing, she said. Then, braver. Thanks again. For not leaving. Of course, he said. Mina tipped her head. You always run towards scary things. Yeah, he said. Then added, because honesty builds trust. I hate that I like it. Kyoka's mouth quirked. Makes sense. Sue nodded. It's useful. The train chimed their stop. They spilled out into the afternoon city, goodbyes messy and enthusiastic, promises for karaoke already argued over. Izuku walked the last blocks home alone. A breeze cut through his jacket and rushed over sweat as it cooled. He shivered and didn't mind it. His apartment door clicked open under his key. I'm home, he called. His mom's voice drifted from the kitchen. Welcome back. He kicked off his shoes. The hallway mirror caught a boy with messy hair, scuffed knees, and tired eyes that still held a small victory. How did it go? Inko asked, appearing with a towel on her shoulder and sauce on her cheek. He smiled. I didn't break my legs. She blinked, then laughed so hard she had to lean on the doorframe. That's my boy. He hugged her. Tight. He breathed in the smell of dinner and clean cotton and home. He held on longer than he meant to. Did you meet anyone? She asked softly, hands rubbing his back like he was still 7 with a nightmare. Make friends. He thought of Mina's grin, Kyoka's quiet sarcasm, Tsu's simple honesty, Achako's hand flaring weightless in his sleeve. Yeah, he said. I think so. He let her go and headed for a shower. Hot water needled sore muscle and washed concrete dust down the drain. He pressed his forehead to tile and let the events play frame by frame in his head. Banjo's thumbs up, Nana's heavy hand on his shoulder, the second's grudging fine Achako's small thank you with the crack in it like a door opening. He stepped out, towel around his neck, and his phone buzzed. Mina. Karaoke Friday. I demand chaos. Kyoka. I will leave if you do chaos. Tsu. We can do calm songs. Achako. I'll bring coupons. He typed. I'm in. A pause. Then Mina. Midoriya's in. Okay, now it's official. Kyoka. We will regret this. Tsu. Maybe it will be fun. Achako. It will definitely be fun. He dropped onto his bed, muscles finally giving in to gravity without float to cheat for him. The ceiling had a small crack in the plaster that looked like a smiling face. He laughed again because his brain was dumb and tired. Vestige space faintly buzzed. You did good, Banjo said, proud and easy. You did, Nana echoed. A third nodded once, like a soldier acknowledging another. Your timing improved. Your switch control was messy, the second said, exactly the way he'd say past the salt. I know, Izuku said. I panicked for a second. You stabilized, the man said. A concession. You learn. Don't get complacent. I won't. And sat cross-legged, eyes closed. The bees were loud, right? So loud, Izuku said. I could feel them in my teeth. You breathed and made them quiet and said. That's what matters. Kid All Might said. His smile was blinding, even dimmed as a memory. You took the zero-pointer apart and saved people. You look like a hero. I felt like me, Izuku said. Then, quiet. I liked feeling like that. Keep liking it, Nana said. Don't drown in it. I won't, he said again. The space dimmed. He texted one more person before sleep dragged him under. Unknown contact, saved only as K. We passed, nerd. Izuku smiled. You didn't even take the general exam, Kaken. Shut up. Did you pass? I think so. But came the reply. A pause. Don't get soft. Keep your head down. People notice. I know. Another pause. Proud of you, Bakugo sent, then added 3 skull emojis like he could drown sincerity under noise. Izuku stared. His chest went warm in a different way than power ever made it. He typed. Same. He fell asleep with his phone under his cheek, the group chat blinking with Mina's stickers, Kyoka's groaning replies, Tsu's odd frog emojis, and Achako's sunshine. The acceptance letter would come later, and the dorms, and the training, and the enemies, and the weight of larger secrets. So many ladders to climb with careful hands. So many moments to earn, not grab, with people who weren't plot devices in his life, but actual people with their own centers of gravity. Today was small. Today was huge. He had not broken. He had not scared the girl trapped under the rock. He had used everything and stayed kind. Tomorrow, he'd get stronger with them. For now, he slept. The envelope was heavier than it looked. Izuku turned it over twice like it might decide to speak if he waited. His mom hovered in the doorway with flour on her hands. Do you want privacy? No, he said. Stay. He slid a thumb under the seal and breathed once, then twice. His heart tried to do a backflip. The disc inside clinked against the table when he pulled it free. Video Inko said, eyes already shining. He set it down. The hologram sprang up with a burst of light. All Might's face filled the room, larger than life and painfully familiar. I am here. As a projection. The hero boomed. Midoriya Izuku. Young man. You have passed UA's written and practical exams with an outstanding tally. Izuku's knees went a little weak. His mom clapped a hand over her mouth. All Might. She whispered. The projection kept going, voice huge, grin gentle. Your rescue points were exemplary. Your decision to prioritize lives over point splendid. You've been accepted into the hero course, class 1A. He exhaled. Something in his chest let go. He didn't notice his mom hugging him until she was already squeezing the air from his lungs. You did it, she said, laughing through tears. You did it. He hugged back, eyes damp. We did. The hologram flickered. All Might leaned in conspiratorially. Also, I'll be seeing you around campus, young Midoriya. The projection winked out. Silence filled the kitchen for a beat, broken by the kettle starting to whistle like it knew when to celebrate. His phone buzzed off the table. Mina. I got in. Kyoka. 1A. You. Tsu. Same. Ribbit. Ichako. 1A. We did it. I'm crying a little, don't tell anyone. Izuku typed, hands shaking. 1A congrats. Mina immediately created a new sticker of a dancing blob. Karya confirmed for Friday. Celebratory. Mandatory. Hyoka. Mandatory is illegal. Sue. I can bring throat lozenges. Ichako. I have coupons again. He grinned at the screen and then at his mom. Friday I'm singing. You? She asked. Publicly. I'll try he said. You're brave she teased, wiping her cheeks. He ate celebration curry with seconds, then thirds, because Inko wielded a ladle like a weapon in times of joy. He sent a quiet text to All Might after. Thank you. I'll work hard. A dot. Then. I know. Rest. The first day is its own test. He slept early and well for once. The morning air in April tasted like new paper and nerves. UA rose again, familiar and still unreal. Students flowed through the gate. Color and energy everywhere. Izuku adjusted his backpack straps and tried not to float by accident. Green bean. Mina yelled, skating up to him without skates, just energy. Pink hair, bigger grin. He smiled. Hi Shido. Mina she said pointedly. We're friends now. You can use the fun name. Okay he said dutifully. Mina. She beamed like he'd passed a test. Ichako jogged up with a careful bounce to avoid jarring her ankle. A fresh wrap peeked from her sock. Does it still hurt? He asked. A little she said. I'll take it easy first day. Probably. Ioka ambled behind, hands in pockets, earjacks tucked into her hoodie. You're incapable of taking it easy. I can try. Ichako protested. Sue appeared, quiet as a frog on a lily pad. Hello, she said. Congrats. Congrats, Sue he said. She tilted her head. You used my nickname. It suits you he said. She seemed to consider that like a scientific claim. Ribbit. They found one by following the noise and the sign big enough to be a billboard. Kyoka ran her fingers along the letters like she couldn't believe they were real. It's huge. Mina shoved the door open. No fear. The room was rose and sunlight and a window view that looked like a postcard. Students filled seats and space with immediate personality. A boy with red spikes for hair high-fived everyone in reach. A tall girl with black hair tied in a bow sat with perfect posture and a book the size of a brick. A boy with a tail stretched like he'd warmed up since dawn. A dark-haired boy snored at his desk with zero shame. Iida popped up like a pop spring. Midoriya. Congratulations on your acceptance. And you, you're Raka. Jiro. Asui. Mina pouted. No love for me? You left too quickly for me to greet I meant everyone Iida flustered. Including you. I'm teasing Mina said, patting his arm. We're one class. Be less stiff. Stiffness is my brand he said, then seemed to realize he'd made a joke and almost had a stroke. Izuku stowed his bag and took a seat near the window. He liked the light and the easy exit. Ichako sprawled into the seat ahead of him and spun around to talk like a golden retriever. Kyoka slid into the seat to his right. Sue sat left, straight-backed, attentive. Mina took the desk behind him and propped her chin on her hands. The blond boy with a jagged glare and a permanent scowl strode in with his hands in his pockets like he owned oxygen. Kitsuki glanced around, sneer ready, and then his eyes landed on Izuku. The sneer twitched, paused, recalibrated into something like an acknowledgement. You made it Bakugo said, like he hadn't texted proud of you with skulls. You too Izuku said. Itsuki grunted and picked a seat like he was picking an enemy to murder. At least 3 students gave him wide berth. Izuku fought a smile. The chair scraped at the front. A man in a yellow sleeping bag unzipped like a slow horror movie and rolled out onto the floor. He stood and dragged the bag off like a snake shedding. He had messy hair and a scarf like a weapon. Homeroom he said without a greeting. I'm as always Shota. Call me Eraserhead if you must. Get used to moving fast. The class went very still. He pulled a uniform from the podium. White and blue in a neat stack. We're skipping orientation. If you want to be heroes, you don't need a pep rally. You need to know if you can function. Quirk apprehension test. Field in 5 minutes. 5. Iida sputtered. But orientation rules. Izawa looked at him with eyes that said we have no time for this. You're at UA now. We do things differently. He tossed the uniforms. Students dove like seagulls for bread. Izuku changed fast, hands moving on muscle memory. The fabric was light and sturdy. His heart ticked up. This he understood. Tests. Numbers. Edges. They filed out under a blue sky that would have been nice if not for the air of impending judgment. Aizawa stood with a tablet and a deadpan that could flatten mountains. You he said, pointing at Izuku without looking up. Midoriya. You placed first in rescue points. Show me a ball throw. Murmurs rippled. He climbed Izuku's neck. Yes, sir he said. Izawa's eyes flicked up, took him in like a problem to solve. Use your quirk. Yes, sir, Izuku said again. He rolled the ball in his fingers. The rubber was slightly tacky. He walked to the circle, wind moving the hair on his forehead. He could feel 20 gazes on his back. He took 3 breaths and let the first 2 go. The last one he held. He thought in layers. No showboating. No bone shattering. Controlled. He set his feet. He let Fajin build not a lot. Tap, tap, tap in his torso, in his hips, in his shoulder. He shifted into first gear, a hum through his limbs. He brought his arm back and at the last instant he set float on his shoulders and neck, countering recoil weight like a subtle brace. He didn't want the throw to torque his spine and tell the world how strong he was. Then he let it go. The ball left his hand with a crack of air splitting. He cut power immediately. He didn't pose. He didn't grin. He watched it fly into a speck and then vanish. Mina whistled. Okay. Ichako's mouth made a small O. How far was that? Izawa glanced at his screen. 912 meters. The class gasped like a single organism. Bakugo made a choking noise. The red-haired spiky boy yelled. That's manly. Ioka elbowed Izuku lightly. Underachiever. He scratched his cheek. I didn't want to overdo it. Izawa's gaze was steady. Restraint is rarer than power, he said, voice flat as asphalt. Good. Next. 50-meter dash. Pair up. Pairs formed quick. Izuku found himself next to Iida, which was unfortunate for his pride. Good luck, he said. Reciprocated Iida intoned, engines in his calves already twitching. On go, Iida exploded like a rocket. Izuku didn't chase. He slid into first gear and used float like micro hops, so his feet barely touched Fajin and his knees, releasing in tiny metered pulses. He crossed it a hair over 6 seconds. Iida crossed it 3. Iida. 3.04 seconds. Midoriya. 6.19. Izawa droned. Pastsu said, appearing next to him like a commentary ghost. Your steps didn't make sounds. I cheated physics a little, he admitted. It costs focus. I'll mark it down, she said solemnly, like she actually would. Next was grip strength. He considered using Fajin to cheat. He didn't. He grabbed the device and squeezed with a thin strand of power, enough to be impressive, but not break the tool. The screen beeped. 1,200 kilograms. Someone swore softly. He let go, shaking his hands like he'd cramped. He hadn't. The lie protected the truth. Long jump. He didn't need float. He used a clean kick, added a whisper of air under his shoes, so his arc stretched. He landed past the sand like a slow, short flight. Kaminari yelled bro. Like he'd never seen gravity bullied. Shuttle runs. Sit-ups. Reactions. Izawa watched like a hawk counting mice. Izuku felt his gaze every time he toggled a quirk. He kept everything under 20%. He never stayed in one quirk long. He didn't want anyone mapping his rhythm. And then Izawa called his name with a different tone. Midoriya. Ball throw again. Izuku stepped back into the circle. He rolled another ball between his palms. The air felt thinner. Izawa's hair lifted, a ghostly halo. His eyes went red. Now. The world clicked. The hum in Izuku's bones went mute. Float vanished. Fajin was a memory. Black whip dissolved like smoke blown out. Danger sense fell silent. Erasure. He didn't move. Panic would be obvious. He set the ball in one hand and breathed. He was not Quirks. He was training. He was a boy who did push-ups until his arms shook and studied angles until his notebooks filled. He was not nothing. He wound up and threw on pure mechanics. The ball sailed. Not 900 meters. Not even half. It clattered out at 100 and something. Respectable for a strong human. Bland for UA. Hyoka made a quiet sound. Not pity. Curiosity sharpened. Izawa's hair fell. Power trickled back in like a radio finding a signal. He met Izuku's gaze with eyes that didn't blink. You function with and without. Yes, sir, Izuku said. His throat was dry. Izawa stared for 2 heartbeats. Don't rely so hard on tools that you forget your hands. Yes, sir. He moved on. The tests wound down in a blur of numbers and sweat. Izawa lined them up. These numbers decide your ranking. Last place will be expelled. Everyone stiffened. Achako's shoulders crept up to her ears. Mineta turned white. Mina whispered, he's joking, right? Ioka whispered back, do you see a joke on that man's face? Izawa swiped on his tablet. Names and numbers projected in the air. Bead up high. Bakugo above him by a hair. Momoyaoi Rozu at the top with a margin that made Izuku's eyebrows go up. He looked at her. She didn't look smug. She looked like she'd expected nothing less from herself and was already planning to do better. Izuku slotted fourth. He'd held back and still landed near the top. That meant others were monsters too. He wasn't alone up here. Good. Ochako sat mid-pack, jaw tight but eyes bright. Kyoka hovered near her. Sue sat solidly above the middle. Mina rode the line because she turned the ball throw into street art and then laughed. Mineta asked. Aizawa looked at him like he was a problem no one had informed him existed. Expelled. Mineta made a sound like a squeaky toy dying. Sira yelped. Half the class gaped. Aizawa's scarf twitched like a cat's tail. That's what I would say if it weren't the first day. Consider it a preview. UA isn't here to make you comfortable. It's here to make you capable. If you can't handle the pressure of a fake threat, how would you handle a villain pointing a gun? Silence. Then everyone exhaled loud and ugly at once. Sadistic Kaminari hissed, half admiring, half offended. Aizawa didn't blink. Change. Shower. Learn the campus. Homeroom at 3. They filed off in clusters, buzzing. Izuku walked with Mina and the others, skin still prickly from Eraserhead's gaze. The hall smelled like floor polish and adolescent panic. That was so mean, Ochako said. Like, educationally mean. He's right, Sue said. Being calm is a skill. They erased me, Izuku said quietly. Kyoka tilted her head. All of you? All, he said. It was quiet. Do you get headaches without the pee thing? She asked. Yeah, he said, surprised at how grateful he felt to be asked the right question. It's like. Silence, that's loud. That's a lyric, she said, filing it away. You stole my job. Mina bumped his shoulder. You still threw a human strong 100 meters without your quirk buffet. That's hot. He choked. What? Thus she corrected, not sorry. Hot is a vibe, not a. Never mind. You're sturdy. That's good. You don't vanish if someone shuts off the lights. He thought of the rock over Ochako and the zero-pointer's shadow. I don't want to. They split for showers. The steam room was mostly Bakugo threatening the concept of water and Kirishima asking if anyone wanted to arm wrestle. Izuku went quick and quiet. His phone buzzed in the locker. Yayoi Rozu? Midoriya. Hello. Momo Yayoi Rozu. I'd like to discuss your mechanics on the throw. Your shoulder deceleration was unusual. During lunch. He stared. Then typed. Sure. 12:20. Courtyard. Perfect, she replied 1 second later, as if she'd scheduled the message days ago. He changed, hair damp, and found the courtyard buzzing like a small city. Momo stood under a tree like a magazine ad for discipline, uniform perfect, hair glossy. She waved a precise wave. Midoriya, she greeted. Yayoi Rozu, he said. Momo, she said. Please. We should all be on a first-name basis. We will trust each other with our lives. He nodded. Izuku. Excellent. She smiled, warm but measured. Your throw. He laughed. Direct. I value time, she said, amused. He mimed the motion without power, talking through micro-adjustments, counter-rotations, the float trick for bracing. She listened like he was a lecture. Then she created a baseball from her forearm with a soft pop because apparently reality was her pantry. He blinked. You can make sports equipment out of your arm? I can make anything for which I know the molecular structure, she said, as if discussing recipes. I try to keep it neat. Self-mutilation is gauche. He swallowed a laugh. She wound up. He corrected a wrist angle. She adjusted. The ball arsed clean. Her smile widened a fraction. Useful, she said. Your awareness of torque without relying on raw output. That's good. It's safer, he said. Less scary. Scary? She repeated, curious. People scare easily when they don't understand what they're seeing, he said. People fear unknowns, she agreed, and something in her voice softened. Strategy builds trust. He nodded. Yes. Lunch? She offered. I've prepared bento. Too much, likely. He blinked. You brought extra? I always bring extra, she said. It's a habit and a hedge. He sat with her and unboxed perfect onigiri and rolled omelets that tasted like they'd been made by a grandmother who won cooking shows. Mina slid into the seat across from them like she'd been waiting behind a pillar for 30 seconds. Ooh, she said. Fancy food. Help yourself, Momo said without flinching. Mina did, delighted. Marry me. Momo blinked. We are 14. I plan ahead, Mina said. Izuku snorted rice. Ochako jogged over with a plastic tray, eyes huge at the spread. Is that for everyone? Yes, Momo said kindly. Eat. Sue arrived, accepted an onigiri with a dignified thank you, and nibbled like a small, efficient machine. Kyoka hovered until Mina yanked her down by the hoodie. We're not a clique, Mina said. We're a gravitational anomaly. Sit. Kyoka sat. That's worse. They ate and swapped test war stories. Momo might have top scored, but she didn't brag. She asked questions like she was building a team in her head. You're Raka, she said between bites. You're zero gravity, how long can you maintain mass above your limit without nausea? Ochako did quick mental math and shrugged. 2 minutes. If I don't spin. If I spin, it goes bad. Noted, Momo said. And Asui. Tsu corrected politely. Momo acknowledged smoothly. Your tongue, what's your draw strength? One forklift, Tsu said. Mina stopped chewing. You can bench a forklift with your mouth. Tsu tilted her head. No. But I can pull a small car slowly. That's so cool, Ichako said. I want a tongue like that. Kyoka made a face. That's a sentence. Izuku stored all of it. He felt them settling around him like the crew of a ship he hadn't realized he'd been building since he was 10. They had homeroom again in the afternoon. Aizawa took attendance by not looking up from his tablet while saying everyone's name correctly. You'll get hero basics this week. Battle training soon. Don't die. Mina raised a hand. Do you ever smile? No, Aizawa said. She grinned. Okay. After class, All Might burst into the room the way weather bursts into a city, loud and dramatic and impossible to ignore. I am coming through the door like a normal person. Half the class screamed. The other half screamed louder. All Might posed. Welcome to UA. I will be teaching foundational heroics. Prepare yourselves for. Aizawa slid a door closed on him with the quiet of a tired father. Get out. All Might poked his head back in. For training. Tomorrow. Prepare yourselves tomorrow. He vanished. Aizawa rubbed his temple. Ignore him. Don't. But do. Izuku kept his face neutral. His phone buzzed with a single dot. He sent back a dot. They were ridiculous. It made his ribs warm. After school, the group bled into the city for karaoke. Mina led like a neon sign. The place was small, cheap, and smelled like soda. The room was a square with a sticky table. Kyoka eyed the mic like it had offended her family. I'm not going first, she said. You have to, Mina declared. You're the music one. I do instruments, Kyoka said. Not. Feelings into machines. Tsu pressed buttons with curiosity. This has frog songs. Kyoka sighed and grabbed the mic. Fine. 1. She sang something low and sharp and better than most radios. The room went quiet in the good way. Ichako clapped with her whole body. Mina whistled. Momo looked like she'd learned a new theorem about her friend. Wow, Izuku said, honest. Kyoka flushed. Shut up. Compliments received, Momo translated, amused. They traded songs. Mina chose chaos, bubblegum pop and bizarre dance tracks she only half knew. Ichako picked cute songs that turned out to have high notes she nailed by accident. Tsu picked a lullaby and sang in a clear, plain voice that made the room softer. Momo refused twice and then did a classical piece from a musical that made everyone go silent and then stare at their soda. Izuku put his name in only after all of them had gone. He picked something simple with a fast beat so he could hide behind rhythm. His voice wasn't showy. He kept it steady. His hands didn't shake. Mina leaned her head on her hands and watched with a soft expression he hadn't seen on her yet. You're good at not pretending, she said after. I'm good at not being good, he joked weakly. No, she said. You're good at being honest. Ichako slid closer. I like honest. Kyoka lobbed a wrapped candy at his forehead. Don't get weird about it. Tsu nodded. We like you. Momo sipped soda. We will make each other better, she said like it was a contract. His chest did that warm thing again. He let it. On the walk home, Bakugo stepped out of a shadow like he'd been waiting to ambush a wolf. He jerked his chin. Nerd. Izuku didn't flinch. Kakin. They stood on a sidewalk lit by a street lamp that did its best. Bakugo's face was tight in a way it wasn't when he was winning. You're not going to hide, Bakugo said. Not a question. No, Izuku said. You'll make them look at you, Bakugo said, eyes hard. Fine. Then make sure when they look, they see you and not it. Izuku swallowed. I'm trying. You throw like a coward on purpose. I get it. But I swear, if you sand your edges so much you become a pebble, I'll throw you out a window. That metaphor got away from you, Izuku said, choking on a laugh. Bakugo scowled. Shut up. I'll keep an eye out. If anybody gets stupid about you, I get first hit. You don't have to. I do, Bakugo snapped. He looked away. You're mine to yell at. Nobody else's. Izuku nodded. It was ridiculous and possessive and exactly them. Okay. Bakugo grunted and stalked off. Izuku watched him go and felt the weird comfort of a bomb with a friendly timer. He walked the rest of the way with his hands in his pockets and the city humming. The vestige space hummed too. Your teacher is interesting, Banjo said, upside down on nothing. The bad guy. Aizawa, Izuku said. He's good. You were steady, Nana said. The erasure didn't eat you. I'm proud. A second watched from a distance with that same weighing look. You hid well. Careful doesn't mean small. I know, Izuku said. I'll expand when it matters. It'll matter, the third said. It always does, and murmured, eyes closed. All Might's laugh rolled through. Young Midoriya is building a team, he announced like a talk show host. I like your friends. I like them, too, Izuku said softly. I like. A lot. He texted the group chat goodnight and got back a storm of frogs and stars and too many Mina stickers. He lay in bed listening to the quiet. The bees were faint, not gone. It was a good kind of hum. The next day, foundational heroics was fight suits and a training ground that looked like a city cut from a catalog. All Might stood in the sun like advertisement. Costumes. He declared. Because a hero's skin is their symbol. They filed out in their gear. Izuku tugged the hood over his hair and flexed his gloves. The weight sat right. His boots had traction for Fajin and support for sudden floats. The mask stayed around his neck. He didn't need to be a rabbit today. He needed to be a boy with a plan. Mina twirled in black and pink with knee guards that looked like she could dance and fight at once. Achako beamed in her bubble-sleeved suit like a Nintendo character ready to throw planets. Kyoka looked dangerous in a simple jacket with speaker ports. Sue's suit was dark and sleek and made her eyes brighter. Momo's outfit made him blush and then look away and then look back because pretending it didn't exist would be rude. It also had utility enough to be a textbook. All Might clapped. Battle training. 2 on 2. Indoor. Heroes versus villains. Objective. Rescue or subdue. Teams popped up on the board. Fate was bored and decided to be funny. Team A. Midoriya, Uraraka. Villains. Bakugo, Iida. All Might boomed. Mina whooped. Drama. Kyoka smirked. Don't die. Sue patted his sleeve once. Don't get blown up. He nodded, pulse already beating a new rhythm. Achako bounced beside him and then caught herself. Sorry. We're fighting Kaken and Iida. It'll be fine, he said. We don't have to knock them out. We have to touch the bomb. Or make them surrender. Iida can run like wind, she said. Bakugo can explode like explosions. Technical, he teased. She grinned. I'm versatile. He outlined quick lines in the air with a finger. If I were Iida, I'd guard the bomb. If I were Bakugo, I'd hunt us. So we split? She asked. We stay close, but not in a line, he said. We make noise over here. He pointed. We go over there. Be coy. Fun, she said. Her smile changed, sharpened. I like tricks. He liked that she liked tricks. I'll handle Bakugo. You keep Iida busy. He's gentleman honorable. Use that. Make him chase rules. She giggled. You're scary when you strategize. I'm cute, he said, deadpan. She snorted. Okay, cute. All Might called them to positions. Villains went in first. Heroes waited in a dingy hallway that smelled like dust. Izuku stretched his fingers. Danger sense buzzed, already not bees, just a polite doorbell. Kaken was thinking about him. Good. Ready? He asked. Achako bumped his fist. Ready. They entered. The building interior was a cold maze. Izuku kept float under his ankles by millimeters to make his step soft. Achako padded behind, eyes sharp. Left, he murmured. He'll come left. He favors the left when he's excited. How do you? History, he said. The door exploded to their left. Bakugo came through smoke like a dragon and grinned like a knife. Found you. Hi, Kaken, Izuku said. Bakugo's grin flashed wider. He blasted forward. Izuku met him with black whip from the ceiling and a short float to change angle. Bakugo blinked and laughed. You're still annoying. Yep, Izuku said. He let Bakugo chase him down a long hall, let the noise be loud. Achako slipped away at the first turn like a shadow, quiet and determined. He swallowed power in small bites. No Top Gear. No big show. He set Fajin and his legs to slide and pop, black whip to redirect blasts into walls instead of windows. Bakugo's explosions cratered concrete, heat brushing Izuku's mask. It smelled like summer and danger. You're holding back, Bakugo snarled, eyes wild and bright. So are you, Izuku said. Bakugo's laugh echoed. Yeah. They traded. Not for real. Not yet. A dance of intent and restraint. Izuku felt the bees tip over into swarm when Bakugo faked left and actually went through a window. He'd circle. Izuku cut through a room, leaped a railing with float, and landed in a shaft that would make good sound. Boy. Bakugo's voice roared from above. Fight me. And Izuku called, breath even. I have a job. Bakugo's cursing followed like a hymn. Upstairs, Iida stood in a room pretending to be a vault, arms crossed, guarding a pretend bomb, with the seriousness of a royal guard. Achako stood in the doorway with her fingers up and a smile like a trap. I won't let you pass, Iida announced. I know, she said. We must test ourselves against the strongest, he said. I know, she said again. He pointed. Then come at me. She tilted her head. You like rules, right? He blinked. Yes. Then help me with a problem, she said earnestly. The rule says heroes can use the environment to aid the mission. But the whole rug is curled. If I trip, is that the environment or negligence? Iida looked at the rug like it had personally disappointed him. Unacceptable. Safety. Ochako brushed the wall, made weightless a potted plant that looked like it had never been dusted. She nudged it and it drifted to block the doorway. Iida darted to move it because of course he did. She slipped around the other side, fingertips brushing the fake bomb. Got it. She called, laughing. All Might's voice boomed through speakers. Heroes win. Bakugo stopped mid-blast. Izuku let his breath out. The bees faded. He looked up as Kakin stomped into the hallway like someone had insulted his shoes. You trained her, Bakugo accused. I met her, Izuku said mildly. Bakugo stared, then snorted. Fine. Very grouped. All Might clapped too hard. Excellent use of brains. Young Uraraka, good misdirection. Young Midoriya, solid control of your abilities under pressure. Young Iida, commendable guard. Young Bakugo, your ferocity is a very you. Itsuki scowled. Say it. Channel it, All Might amended. Learn to channel it. Itsuki rolled his eyes. Whatever. Ochako bounced over and hugged Izuku without warning. He went stiff for a second, then relaxed awkwardly. You were perfect, she said into his shoulder. You made him chase you like a cat. Sorry, he said automatically. For what? She asked, pulling back. I don't know, he said. Existing. She poked his forehead. Don't be dumb. He nodded. I'll try. Mina sprinted over and flung an arm around both of them. Team cute. We love to see it. Hyoka leaned on the wall and smirked. Could have used more guitar. Sue peered at Izuku's gloves. Your whip came from your back, she observed. But earlier it came from your sleeve. He blinked. You noticed. I noticed, she said simply. You hide. I see. He didn't have an answer for that. That didn't sound like a confession. Thank you, he said instead. Momo appeared with a notebook. I made a list, she announced. Training sub-teams for efficiency. Yama and Hagakure with me for strategy. Kirishima with Bakugo for synergy. Uraraka with Midoriya for physics. Jiro with Kaminari for sound conduction. Asui with Zero for mobility. Ashido floats between 4. Morale. Mina saluted. Morale, Captain. Hyoka raised an eyebrow. You made this in 10 minutes. I made drafts last night, Momo said. I had a feeling. Izuku looked at the page. It was clean, precise, kind. He felt his future shift an inch into a groove that might hold. He trained until his calves sang. He laughed until his throat hurt. He went home and iced his knees. He fell asleep to the hum of bees that sounded less like warning and more like a chorus saying, you're here, you're here, you're here. The story didn't end. It just widened. The edges sharpened. The steps stacked on the ladder weren't just his. They were theirs. He could feel each rung, each handhold, each hand next to his, warm and real, and not a prop in anyone's plot. Tomorrow would test them harder. He didn't pretend otherwise. He smiled into his pillow anyway. The bus hummed like a lazy bee. Izuku watched the city roll backward through the window and counted breath cycles. 4 in, 6 out. It kept the buzz in his skull from getting sharp. Seats free? Ochako asked, poking her head into his row. Yeah, he said, scooting his bag. She plopped down with a guilty smile. I didn't mean to hog the aisle. You're fine. Mina slid into the seat across, chin propped on the backrest. Morning, team cute. Hyoka leaned on the pole nearby, earjacks twined in her fingers. Don't name us. Sue hopped into the sideways bench, legs tucked neat. Where are we going, Ribbit? Facility Iida declared from the front, half turned, very official. A special rescue training site. I researched the bus routes. Kaminari whistled. Nerd. Iida nodded, completely misreading the tone. Yes. Kirishima pumped a fist. Rescue training is manly. Momo checked a laminated packet she'd made about emergency protocols. She had tabs. Of course she had tabs. Please review environmental hazards before we arrive. Mina squinted. You laminated that. I like my papers neat, Momo said. Bakugo slouched near the back like a lion pretending to nap. He caught Izuku looking and raised a brow. Izuku looked away on purpose. Balance. Don't crowd him. So Mina said, eyes flicking between them. We still doing karaoke Friday? Hyoka groaned. We just did karaoke. Routine build skill, Momo offered. See? Mina said. Genius agrees. Ochako nudged Izuku's elbow. You picking a song this time? I'll try, he said. Nothing with high notes. We'll find something, she said. Her smile was warm enough to heat the bus. Sue watched the exchange with calm interest. We should also go to the pool. Practice floating. Mina snapped finger guns. Froppy thinks in themes. Practice helps, Sue said. The pool day sounds nice, Momo said. We could drill breath control. Hyoka muttered, and not drown. Sounds good. All Might's shadow loomed at the front and the bus got quiet without anyone telling it to. He wore his teacher smile, sunny and goofy. Young heroes. Today, we visit a facility designed for disaster rescue scenarios. The Unforeseen Simulation Joint. Or, USJ. Unfortunate acronym, Kyoka whispered. It's fine, Mina whispered back. We can call it the Cool Dome. All Might grinned wider. 13 will lead your training. They specialize in rescue. Watch carefully. There's more to hero work than punching. Izuku's chest loosened. He liked rescue. He understood rescue. The harem of bees in his skull softened from buzz to hum. The bus rolled through gates into a dome that looked like a theme park for disasters. Fake city blocks sat beside manufactured mountains. An artificial lake glimmered. Fog machines hissed over a collapsed building. Whoa, Kirishima said. This rules. 13 waved at the entrance like a polite astronaut. Welcome to USJ. We'll practice non-combat rescues today. Fire. Flood. Landslides. Your quirks can save lives if used precisely. Aizawa stood off to the side like a shadow that had opinions. His eyes scanned corners. He did not look relaxed. Mina elbowed Izuku. You're vibrating again. Excited, he said. Me too, she said, grin bright. I love pretend disasters. 13 held out gloved hands. We'll start with. The air warped like heat above asphalt, but wrong. A smear of purple opened in the middle of the plaza. Everyone stilled. Even the fog machine sounded like they flinched. Is that on the syllabus? Zero asked. No, Aizawa said. His scarf lifted. Get back. Figures stepped out of the warp. Humans. Not robots. Not staff. Some wore mismatched clothes. Some had obvious mutations. One had a hand clamped over his face. The one with blue-black mist for a body bowed like he'd been trained in fine manners. Welcome, students, he said. We are the League of Villains. Izuku's stomach went cold. Danger sense exploded, bees turning into knives that crawled under his scalp. Aizawa's voice went flat. 13, protect the students. I'll engage. All Might is supposed to be here, the mist said, amused. Ah. He's not. How disappointing. Move. Aizawa barked. The class scattered. 13 ushered them toward the exit. The purple warp stretched like a lazy hand. It reached for them. Warp quirk, Momo said, clipped in fast. Do not let it touch you. Too late. The mist wrapped and tugged. Gravity wobbled. The world fell sideways. Izuku grabbed the closest thing, a Chaco's glove. Black whip snapped on instinct, anchoring to a support beam. The pull fought him. Hold on. He yelled. Her fingers tightened. Don't let. The warp yanked harder. Black whip screamed across his nerves. His abdomen burned. He fed Fajin into his legs and core and lost the grip anyway. The dome vanished. The world split into uneven clumps. He slammed into cold. Water shoved him down. Bubbles ripped past his ears. His chest clenched. Float tried to engage, but buoyancy lied underwater. His brain yelled different instructions at once. He kicked hard and hit someone's shoulder. Sorry, he tried to say and swallowed lake. He made himself small. Float off. Smokescreen off. Power instincts off. He needed a breath. He kicked again and broke surface near a fake boat. Air knifed into his lungs. Midoriya. Sayu's voice cut through splash and noise. She clung to a buoy, eyes sharp. Over here. He swam to her. She grabbed his sleeve with wet hands. Help, Mineta, she said, already turning. The small boy thrashed, panicked, useless. Villains bobbed nearby on makeshift rafts. One grinned with too many teeth. I hate water, Mineta choked. Float, Izuku said. He touched Mineta's shirt with 2 fingers. Mineta went weightless and yelped and stopped sinking. Keep your mouth closed. He scanned the water. Villain circled. A shark-headed one dove unseen. Below. Tsu warned. Izuku spun and dumped Fajin into a short ugly kick. He didn't aim to hurt. He aimed to make space. His heel cracked into the shark's snout. The villain reeled, stunned. Sorry, Izuku said reflexively. Don't apologize to villains, Tsu said. She wrapped her tongue around Mineta and flung him onto the boat with one vicious flick. He yelped but landed safe. She grabbed Izuku's waist like a belt. Propel, she said. He nodded. Float on my back. I'll push. She settled against him calm as a stone. He drew power into his legs with clean taps. He kicked in bursts, Fajin releasing like pistons. They sliced water. Mineta cried. Villains yelled. Tsu's breath stayed even against his neck. Your control is good, she said. Scared makes me precise, he said. Scared makes me focused, she offered. They reached the boat. He cancelled a Chaco's 0G on Mineta with a tap and helped Tsu climb. Villains closed. Zero wasn't here. Neither was Kaminari. Momo. Mina. Kyoka. Achako. Ida. He swallowed the panic and made a list. Tsu said. Right, he said. He scanned the ring of boats and faces. Shark. Electricity guy. A woman with a fin and a hook. We can't punch a lake. We can move it, Tsu said, simple as weather. He blinked. Float a ring. Drop it. Like a curtain, she said. Mineta, he started. I hate everything, Mineta said. Burr your sticky balls when I say, Izuku said. Make a net so they cluster. Mineta groaned. This is the worst day. They worked. Tsu's tongue anchored lines around the boat. Izuku floated a ring of water by dragging his zero-G touch in a circle, hand skimming like a skater. It took fine focus. Too much force and it broke. Too little and it fell. He breathed around the burning in his temples and kept the bees quiet. Now Tsu said. Mineta hurled the sticky spheres with surprising accuracy when he stopped panicking. They adhered to the ring's inner surface like jelly. Villains swam into them and stuck fast. Tsu drop, Izuku said. She snapped her tongue loose. The ring fell. The net slammed down. Villains thrashed, tangled. The shark one tried to bite the spheres and gagged. Gross, Mineta said, but he looked proud and miserable. We make for shore, Tsu said. Izuku nodded. He floated the boat just enough to lighten it, then kicked. Fajin burned. His calves protested. He kept going. The dock loomed. He hauled himself up first, then pulled Tsu, then Mineta. He cancelled a Chaco's quirk in his palm and nearly stumbled with a weight shift. You okay? Tsu asked. Headache, he admitted. Fine. Good, she said. Let's find the others. They sprinted along the dock. The dome echoed with fighting and smoke. Aizawa danced with a dozen villains alone, scarf a storm. 13 and a group of students were near the entrance, facing the warp man. The one with the hand on his face scratched his neck like he'd been bitten by a thought. Izuku's skull buzzed at him. Bigger threat ahead. He pulled back before he ran straight into it. Regroup, he said. We don't go alone. Tsu nodded. You sound like Aizawa. I'll take that, he said. The grappling line thunked into a beam above their heads. Momo swung down with grace that had to be practiced. She landed in a crouch, hair escaping her tie, eyes bright with relief. You're alive. Hi, he said, breathless. You okay? Yes. She offered him a small first aid pouch like she'd been meaning to hand it to him all day. You look pale. Later, he said. We need the class. Amanari is across the plaza, Momo said. He over-discharged. He's. You know. Stupid. Kyoka's voice came from behind them. She jogged up with Shiro, both scuffed but standing. He's talking in emojis. On it, Izuku said. He looked past them. Mina. Heir's own, Kyoka said, face tight. She ran in. Of course she did, Tsu said. Mina's suit has heat resistance, Momo said. But her acid. Yeah, Izuku said. Acid and heat meant gas. He didn't finish. They moved as a group. Shiro taped a villain to a pillar with cheerful spite. Kyoka knocked a thug out with a base line through a wall. Tsu cleared debris like it weighed air. Momo produced a hydrant nozzle from her arm and handed it to Izuku. Gravity. He nodded, touched the heavy metal, and it lifted like a balloon. He kept it hovering as they ran. They hit the fire zone, and the world constricted. Heat rolled in sheets. A building popped and groaned. Smoke scratched at their throats. Mina. Izuku shouted. Her answer came with a cough. Here. 3rd floor. He looked up. A window glowed red. He ground his teeth. Plan. Ventilation, Momo said. Break low, create draw. Kyoka gripped his sleeve. Don't go alone. I'm not, he promised. He floated the nozzle up, black whip snapping it to a beam. Momo created a hose coupling with a wince. Shiro found a hydrant and taped the connection like he was wrapping a present. Water surged. The nozzle bucked. Izuku braced with float at his shoulders and wrists. He aimed. Glass shattered. Steam screamed into the hall. Mina burst through the doorway in a skid, dragging a limping villain by the collar like he'd been the idiot who started it. She saw them and grinned. Hey, Team Cute. Kyoka wheezed. You're insane. Only a little, Mina said. Move. Momo ordered. Drop to floor. Izuku blasted a jet to create a corridor. Tsu jumped, tongue snapping to anchor. Shiro taped a path. Mina skated on a thin acid film that looked like a miracle. They made it down in a messy cascade. Izuku grounded the nozzle in cut water. His arms shook from bracing. His chest hitched. He swallowed a cough. You okay? Mina leaned on his shoulder for a second. Her skin was hot through the suit. You made a water sword, she said, voice hoarse. It was beautiful. He laughed and coughed and almost sat down. Later. Villains regrouping, Tsu warned. We should go. They moved. The center plaza came into view again. The Mistman Kurogiri, the warp, had a new plan. He opened his body into a wall of portals, cutting the group off from the exit. 13 was down, cape ripped and smoldering. Iida sprinted along the wall like a blue streak toward the gate. Oh, engine boy, Mina cheered weakly. Protect him, Momo said. Kurogiri's cloud reached for Iida. Izuku put float under his own feet and stepped up air like a ladder. He slapped the mist with a palm full of one for all, not a punch. Pressure. His glove tingled. The mist rippled and thinned, revealing a metal collar and a man's throat. "Or," he said, eyes narrowing. Kurogiri blinked, surprised. He recoiled, organs retreating into the fog. "Interesting," he said. "Stay away from the exit," Izuku said, ugly in his throat. The hand-face villain twitched. "You're the problem." Aizawa hit him with the scarf in a flash. The man reacted faster than Izuku liked. He scratched his neck. Skin flaked. He grabbed Aizawa's scarf and it crumbled like old bread. "Crap," Kyoka said. "His quirk." "Okay," Momo said sharply. "Don't let him grab you." The hulking shape stepped out of the fog near the fountain. It wasn't a man. It was an outline given muscle. It had a beak and a brain exposed under a dome. The Nomu turned and looked straight at Aizawa like a dog hearing its name. "All might snack," the hand-faced one purred. "Go." The Nomu blitzed. It hit Aizawa like a truck. Bone sounded wrong. Izuku flinched so hard his vision sparkled. Bees became lightning. "No," Chako's voice said behind him. She made it back. She stood with dirt on her cheeks and a fire in her eyes. She grabbed Izuku's sleeve. "Don't rush." He wanted to rush. He wanted to hit overflow and erase the monster. He wanted to break his bones and not care. He breathed. "Right. Plan." "We buy time," Momo said. Her voice shook and steadied. "We don't win. We keep him alive until support arrives." Izuku nodded. "Right." He stepped forward and aimed not for the Nomu. He aimed for Shigaraki's wrist. He flicked a micro whip and rapped. He pulled just enough to make Shigaraki stumble. The man snarled and clawed at the ground. Concrete turned to dust where his fingers grazed. Sue snatched Aizawa's torso with her tongue and dragged him back. Momo produced bandage rolls like a magician. Kyoka sent a thunderclap through the Nomu's side. It didn't flinch. Kaminari staggered over and smiled dumbly. Kyoka slapped him. "Not now." "Right," he said, back to himself in a spark. He fried Kurogiri's mist until the collar showed again. Zero taped it down. Kurogiri writhed but held. The Kugo landed like a bomb between Shigaraki and the class, explosions cracking air. "Back off," Freak, he snarled. Shigaraki tilted his head. "You explode. But you're not the one I want." Izuku's neck prickled. Achako's hand tightened on his sleeve. "He's looking at you," she said. "I know," he said. The Nomu lunged. Izuku stepped in front of Aizawa's prone form without thinking. Float caught his leap, Fajin loaded, gearshift humming in his bones like an engine he wasn't supposed to redline. "Don't," the second said. "You'll break." "I'll bend," Izuku said. He didn't hit the Nomu head on. He slipped under the rake of its claw. He tapped its wrist with a concentrated burst and a twist, popping a tendon issue instead of breaking bone. It jerked. He stepped on air to get angle and smacked its knee sideways with a convex heel, sending a shock through the joint. He didn't dent. He disrupted. Did All Might's voice boomed. Not his memory voice. The real one. All Might crashed through the entry doors like a hurricane wearing a smile. Dust and hope blew in behind him. "I am here." The relief was so sharp it hurt. The class cheered like drowning kids hitting shore. Shigaraki's shoulders went rigid. "Nomu," he whined. "Kill All Might." All Might's eyes flicked once to Izuku. "Just a second." It said. "Well done." It said. "Stand back." "Class," he called without looking away from the monster. "Assist with evacuations. Protect each other." Momo took command like a general in a clean uniform. "Kaminari, suppress mist. Zero, keep Kurogiri pinned. Kirishima, Bakugo, flank left to keep Shigaraki away from civilians. Uraraka, Midoriya move Aizawa. Asui, Jiro perimeter." They moved. Izuku and Achako lifted Aizawa together. Achako made him light and Izuku made the stretcher float enough not to bump. Blood soaked the bandage. Aizawa's eyes opened a sliver. He saw Izuku and then saw past him. "Don't overdo it," he rasped. "I won't," Izuku promised. Aizawa murmured and passed out. Rude, Achako muttered, but she smiled shakily. They hauled him to 13, who was sitting up and conscious now, albeit scorched. "Good work," 13 said, voice thin. All Might traded blows with the Nomu like gods arguing in wind. The ground shook. The windows cracked. The Nomu absorbed, regenerated, pushed. All Might smiled like he always did. Izuku saw the tightness under it and wanted to help so badly his teeth hurt. Mina skated up with a fire extinguisher like a club. "I want to hit the brain," she said. "Do not hit the brain," Momo said, appearing with a halberd. "Unless All Might tells you to." Umina said, but she stuck close. The Nomu slammed All Might into the ground. The dome groaned. All Might stood again. He shook dust from his shoulders like rain. "This is nothing," he shouted and smiled wider. "Liar," Izuku whispered, hard in his throat. Kyoka watched his face. "You know something." "I'll tell you later," he said. It came out strangled. Kurogiri broke Zero's tape with a warp twist and spilled mist like spilt oil. Kaminari shocked it again. He sagged. 2% left, he warned. Run the perimeter, Momo said. Find support. Iida went, Izuku said. The gate slammed open then, like the world had been listening. Heroes poured in behind All Might like a second wave. The Nomu swung. All Might caught. He roared. The air shook. The force of it pushed Izuku back 2 steps, even with float bracing. He shielded Ichako and Izawa with his body. United States of All Might yelled. No, Izuku muttered, adrenaline boiling. Don't break your arm. Smash. All Might finished, but he angled the blow sideways, dispersing force. The Nomu flew into the sky, punching a cloud hole. Shigaraki screamed, all child and monster. Nomu. Gurigiri pulled him into a warp like a mother grabbing a shirt collar. Mist snapped closed. Silence rolled in behind them like a stunned tide. Then the dome filled with voices, sirens, the drone of late panic. All Might sagged against a pillar for half a second and turned it into a lean. Excellent work, students, he said, voice big and warm. You protected each other. Izawa coughed. Barely. Still counts, All Might said. He looked at Izuku again, and this time the look said. Don't blame yourself for wanting to jump. Izuku looked away because he absolutely had wanted to jump into the middle and burn himself out. They were herded to medical. Recovery girl tutted at bruises and melted suits. Kirishima bragged about elbowing teeth. Bakugo paced like a caged explosion. Kaminari slept sitting up. Shiro took pictures and got yelled at by 3 separate teachers. Izuku sat on a gurney and let a nurse clean a cut on his cheek he hadn't noticed. Ichako perched on the edge of his bed like a bird that had decided he was a branch. Sue stood near his knees. Kyoka leaned on the wall, arms folded. Momo sat in a chair and made a list of equipment requests for USJ repairs because she had nothing else to do with restless hands. Mina lay flat on a second gurney and blew dust off her bangs. I want ice cream, Mina declared. Kyoka raised a brow. We almost died. Exactly, Mina said. This deserves ice cream. Sue nodded. Mint. Momo hummed. Pistachio. Ichako wrinkled her nose. Strawberry. Kyoka looked at Izuku. You look like someone unplugged you. Float drains focus, he said. So does wrestling mist. You saw the core, Momo said, pen tapping. That was key. You saved Izawa, Ichako said softly. We saved him, Izuku said. Mina tilted her head. You almost jumped into All Might's fight. He didn't deny it. Yeah. Thank you for not doing that, Kyoka said. Sue flicked his knee. Your bees were loud, she observed. They were screaming, he admitted. I made them hum. Good, she said. All Might looked in from the hall, eyes warm under the shadow of his brows. He gave Izuku a tiny nod. Izuku gave a tiny nod back. Their secret hummed between them like a wire. When the chaos settled, homeroom clustered back on a bus. No one talked at first. Then they talked too much. Noise washed away shock in messy waves. Kirishima slapped Bakugo's back. You were awesome, bro. Obviously, Bakugo said, but his voice was off. Not softer. Just. Not wired only for rage. Iida apologized to 13 8 times and then apologized for apologizing so much. 13 patted his shoulder, bemused. Momo handed Izawa a neat sheaf of typed observations. He took it and blinked like she'd handed him a cat. I'll read it. Yes, sir, she said. On the bus, Mina slid into the seat across again and didn't grin. She watched him for a second instead. You okay? He took stock. He was tired. He was buzzing. He was proud of them. He was afraid of how much he'd wanted to burn everything and save everyone alone. I'm okay, he said. Not great. Okay. Honest, she said. Good. Ichako rested her head on the window and looked at him sideways. When he looked at you, I got angry. Who? He asked. The hand guy, she said. He looked at you like you were a puzzle he wanted to break. I hated it. Sue nodded. I didn't like it. Ioka's mouth twisted. If he touches you, I'll blast his teeth in. That's not how teeth work, Momo said. Then, kinder. We'll keep him away. Izuku swallowed. His throat felt tight and hot. Thank you. Mina stuck a sticker of a squid on his sleeve. Squad, she said, solemn. He snorted. What is that? Team mascot, she said. Because we're flexible and weird. Frogs would make sense, Sue said. Mina gasped. You're right. Frogs. I refuse to be a frog, Kyoka said. Frogs are elegant, Momo said, offended on Sue's behalf. Kyoka sighed. Fine. We're frogs. Ichako giggled. It sounded like relief. The bus rolled. Sun slid across their faces. The city kept being a city. UA gates came into view, still standing. They were sent home early with serious talks and stricter security. Inko hugged Izuku a second longer at the door and then pretended she wasn't. He hugged back and didn't pretend. After a shower and a set of texts, I'm home, he lay on his bed with the ceiling crack smiling down. The vestige space flickered like weak TV signal and then came clear. "You danced," Banjo said, beaming. "Nice wrist taps." "Thank you," Izuku said. "The Nomu had shock absorption," the third said. "You adjusted?" "I tried," Izuku said. "You wanted to do something stupid," the second said, not a question. "Yes," Izuku said. "You didn't," the man said. It almost sounded like praise. Nana crossed her arms and gave him the look only a very specific kind of aunt can deliver. "You saved the teacher. That matters." "All Might took a big risk," Izuku said. "He did," All Might said, stepping into the space like he'd been standing just off camera. "I keep doing that." "You're supposed to," Izuku said. "I'm supposed to survive it," All Might said. "So are you." Izuku nodded. "I know." The space dimmed. He lay in the real dark and let the day settle in layers. Panic. Plan. Heat. Water. Bees. Friends. His phone buzzed. Group chat. Mina. We lived. Hyoka. Gold star. Sue. Frog sticker. Momo. Debrief tomorrow. Coffee. Ichako. Can we still do ice cream? Izuku. Yes. Mina. Mint for Froppy, pistachio for Momo, strawberry for Gravity, vanilla for Jack, matcha for Green Bean. Hyoka. You will not assign me vanilla. Mina. Fine, chocolate. Spicy chocolate. Sue. I will try spicy chocolate. Momo. We'll get a sampler. Ichako. He looked at you and I hated it. There wasn't a sticker for that. He stared at the text and typed. Thank you. 3 dots. Then. We're a team. He put the phone face down and stared at the ceiling. His heart thumped in his ears. He didn't feel alone with it. Morning came with sore calves and a new security checkpoint. Aizawa wore sunglasses like a shield and told them not to be stupid. They learned anyway. Classes shifted. Rescue drills added redundancies. Support corps students gave them gadgets with disclaimers. Lunchroom chatter kept drifting to what ifs and almosts. No one said league too loud. Everyone thought it. Izuku sat with Momo and Ichako one lunch and sketched a mech for forest rescues. Momo asked questions that made his drawings better. Ichako leaned over them and drooled a little at the engineering. Sue slid a cucumber slice onto his tray like a medal. In combat class, Bakugo went hard and then stopped too hard and didn't hit a face. Kirishima called it manly. Kaminari shook his hand and then pouted when he got pranked. Kyoka played a riff on her jacks that sounded like laughter. Mina made acid hearts on the training wall and then scrubbed them before Aizawa saw. After school, they did ice cream. Mina insisted on a weird shop inside an alley that looked like a secret. The owner had a scar and a soft voice. Momo ordered too much and made everyone try a bite of each. Sue actually liked spicy chocolate. Kyoka pretended she didn't and then stole a second spoonful. Ichako got strawberry and smiled like it deserved the world. Izuku tasted matcha and felt his shoulders drop 3 centimeters he hadn't noticed were lifted. You eat like you're concentrating, Mina said. I like tasting things, he said. It makes me slow down. Taste victory, Mina said, stealing his spoon. Taste fiscal responsibility, Momo said, paying for all of it before anyone could argue. Ichako leaned into his side for 1 second when someone brushed her in the crowded shop. The contact was warm and quick and not an accident. She didn't move away too fast. He didn't either. Hyoka watched that and hummed something approving. Sue didn't comment. Momo took note and then very deliberately talked about homework. Mina watched all of them and smiled like a fox. They left in 2s and 3s, light bouncing off the small puddles in the alley. Izuku and Kyoka walked a block together toward the station, the others splitting off earlier. You still buzzing? She asked. Quieter, he said. Music helps, she said. You want a playlist? Yeah, he said. She handed him one earbud without stopping. He put it in. The beat was steady and low. It felt like a hand on his shoulder. His breath matched it without trying. You don't have to talk, she said, eyes forward. I get tired of talking after heavy days. Thanks, he said. They walked to the station like that. He gave the earbud back. She nodded once and peeled off toward her platform. At home, Inko had soup and a look that said she'd watched the news twice and turned it off before panic could win. He hugged her longer than a normal hello and shorter than a rescue. Everything okay? She asked. Busy, he said. But okay. He did homework. He texted All Might 3 questions about rescue decision trees. All Might sent back 3 answers and a photo of a cat he'd met outside a store. It was bad lighting and perfect. He slept. He dreamed about water turning into stairs and a hand that dissolved concrete that never reached him. Days flowed. Training, study, jokes, small disasters. The group tightened their weave without making a ceremony of it. In capture training, Izuku and Momo took a team and ran a silent breach that made Aizawa mutter acceptable. In gym, Ichako beat Ida in a balance drill and laughed so hard she almost fell. Sue hung upside down from the rafters during a break and ate a granola bar like nothing was odd. Kyoka taught Kaminari how to keep output under fried. Mina made everyone plank to a song and declared them a dance crew. Bakugo snarled and then did it anyway. One afternoon, Momo asked Izuku to stay after class. She stood by the window with a stack of papers and a line between her brows. I made a curriculum, she said. For what? He asked. For us, she said simply. Study. Training. Debrief after combat. Materials. Rotations. I can't force the class. I can ask our group. He took the stack. It was thorough without being suffocating. It left space for people to be themselves and still slot in. It felt like care turned into a plan. This is good, he said. I need you, she said, and then flushed. Your brain. For adjustments. You see angles I miss. I need you, he said back, and meant it. You make paths for everyone. She took a breath like she'd been waiting to hear that. Then we're agreed. He nodded. We're agreed. They presented it at lunch. Mina clapped mid-sentence. Kyoka poked holes and then patched them with better tape. Sue added a note about silence drills. Achako offered a mini budget for snacks because starvation made everyone dumb. Snacks are life, Mina declared. Snacks are logistics, Momo corrected, amused. He went home with his head full and his bones tired. He lay down and closed his eyes and felt the vestiges like distant neighbors with lights on. They're building something, Nana said. A team, he said. The family, Banjo added. If you let it be. The second didn't contradict them. You'll be targeted for it, he said, practical as a hammer. I know, Izuku said. I'll choose it anyway. All Might's laugh rolled through the space warm and proud. Young Midoriya choosing people. That's my favorite arc. The bees hummed. Distant. Not angry. Not warning. Just alive. He slept. He woke. He kept moving. In homeroom, Aizawa announced the sports festival like it was a math quiz. 3 weeks. Train. Advertise yourself. Don't embarrass me. Mina's eyes went star-shaped. Costumes. Glitter. Kyoka deadpanned. We're heroes, not pop idols. Why not both? Mina said. Momo glanced at Izuku. We'll adjust training. Balance, rescue and spectacle, he said. No bone breaking. Sue nodded. We should test stamina. Ichako squeezed his arm. We got this. He believed her. He looked at all of them, Mina's bright chaos, Kyoka's low patience, Sue's steady honesty, Momo's clean plans, Ichako's warm gravity, and felt something settle. Not a vow. Not a claim. A promise to show up. To make space. To not rush the climb. He smiled. It felt new and right. Let's work, he said. And they did. The gym smelled like rubber and effort. Izuku counted the squeak of shoes and his breaths together. 4 in. 6 out. It kept the bees in line. Festival in 3 weeks, Aizawa said, deadpan. Advertise your best while not revealing your all. That's a paradox. Welcome to hero work. Mina raised a hand. Can we advertise glitter? No. She grinned anyway. We'll find a loophole. Aizawa waved at Momo. Student-led drills. Yaoirozu, you're up. Momo's clipboard looked like a weapon. We'll do modular stations, she said. Mobility, endurance, precision. Rotations every 10 minutes. We'll finish with a scrimmage. Kyoka murmured, of course she made stations. Of course, Izuku said, and meant it warmly. He took mobility first with Tsu and Zero. The setup was poles at odd heights and taped zones you couldn't touch. Aizawa's idea of fun. Float cheats, Kyoka said, arms crossed. Float costs focus, he said. I'll use it light. He made the air into steps just thick enough for toes. Fajin pulsed in tiny taps. Black Whip flicked once to save a bad angle. He finished with his lungs tight and his calves hot. Sue landed beside him without ever looking rushed. You blink less when you're focused, she observed. I forget to, he admitted, blinking. Don't, she said. He didn't for the next station. Endurance was a loop of sprints and weighted carries. Ichako jogged beside him with a determined smile. She touched dumbbells and made them float, then grimaced. Too easy. I should train real weight. Do both, he said. Build muscle. Keep quirk as seasoning. She laughed. You're such a nerd. Honest, he said. Nerdy honest. Precision was rings and small targets. Kyoka lent him a metronome beat through her jack. He threw on the beat and hit 4 in a row. He missed the 5th. He stuck his tongue out at himself, then stopped because it was dumb. Kyoka smirked. Cute. He flushed. Thanks. Don't get cocky, she added, deadpan. You're still a try-hard. Rude, he said, but he was smiling. Scrimmage time made the room louder. Momo split them fast. Red versus blue, she called. Goal is capture. Red. Bakugo, Kirishima, Zero, Kyoka, Mineta, Ejiro. Blue. Izuku, Ichako, Mina, Tsu, Momo, Iida. Nice, Mina said. We're vibes. We're a team, Momo corrected. Team vibes, Mina insisted. The whistle blew. Bakugo blasted forward, grin sharp. Kirishima charged with him. Kyoka flanked and Zero set lines like a spider. Break left, Izuku said, already moving. Iida sprint. Draw Zero. On it, Iida said, engines flaring. Su, your anchor, Momo said. Uraraka, set traps. Ichako tagged floor tiles quick and neat. Don't step there, she sang. Bakugo barreled through anyway, setting off a zero-G patch and floating for one hilarious second. He cussed. Kirishima laughed at him and got caught by Zero for his trouble. Izuku met Bakugo midair. Black Whip latched the ceiling. Float bled velocity. Don't break the wall, he said. Shut up, Bakugo said, but angled a blast away from a window. Progress. They clashed and didn't collide. Bakugo's palms flared. Izuku's calves burned. He kept his output low and his angles annoying. He made Kakin chase bad lines. TCH, Bakugo said. Gear sand in the gears. Yep, Izuku said. Mina slid under them on acid like it was a rink. 2 for 1, she sang and tagged Kirishima out with a shoulder check. He high-fived her on his way to the bench like it was fair. Momo called, fall back when Zero netted Iida. Su broke the tape with a snap of tongue and pulled him free. Ichako dropped a shelf with a flick and made Zero dodge into Minetta's sticky mine. Minetta groaned. It got me again. Teamwork, Momo said, satisfied. Brad regrouped. Kyoka pulsed a baseline that made Izuku's ribs buzz. He felt the rhythm, let it time his steps. He liked moving to her music. It made the bees hum instead of sting. Blue took it by a point. Bakugo scowled and then Grit laughed. Do it again. Water break, as always said. Then again. They did it again. And again. Izuku learned where Mina would faint. He learned how Fartsu could tongue sling a person while still talking. He learned that Momo's fallback sounded gentle and felt like a command. He learned Ichako loved trick plays more than sugar. He also learned his own limits better. Gearshift ate his legs faster indoors. Smokescreen messed with Kyoka's sound support. Danger sense spiked wrong when 3 things hit at once. He filed it all. After, they sprawled on the floor like defeated cats. Sweat made the room smell like effort and soda. Mina rolled onto her stomach. Festival plans. Obstacle race first, Momo said. Then cavalry battle. Then, one-on-ones. Kyoka groaned. Cavalry. Strategy game, Izuku said. We'll thrive. Team cute? Mina asked, hopeful. We'll rotate, Momo said. Spread strength. Su sat up, spine straight. Obstacle race first. We should practice weird terrain. USJ has that, Ichako said. If they let us back. Izawa's voice drifted from his sleeping bag. They will. With supervision. Tomorrow after classes. Mina fist pumped. Field trip. They did homework in a tired clump that night. Izuku sat at the dorm study table and found Momo already there, pen tapping. She slid a sheet over without greeting. Obstacle variable, she said. He scanned. Ravine. Robots. Minefield here, Ed. Randomized. Randomized patterns aren't random in execution, she said. There are bottlenecks. We cut bottlenecks, he said, and drew lines. She leaned in, close enough that he smelled citrus. Agreed. Kyoka plopped down opposite and rested her chin on her hand. You two planning world domination. Just minor domination, Mina said, flopping into the chair next to him. Green, which color glitter do you hate least? All, he said. Wrong answer, she said, writing his vote as holo. Su joined, quiet as usual, and placed a bowl of sliced cucumbers in the center. Hydrate, she said. Ichako came last with snacks and got distracted by Izuku's messy map. What's that arrow? Angling through the bot zone, he said. Bounce off a chassis. Save ankles. Hot, Mina said. Nerd hot. Kyoka snorted. Stop hitting on geometry. I will never stop hitting on geometry, Mina retorted. They studied until the clock blinked midnight at them. Izuku walked people to doors because he liked being an escort and because danger sense twitched when he didn't. It was probably dumb. His brain didn't care. Hate this? Kyoka asked, holding up a loose poster in the hall. He smoothed tape over the corner. It didn't need 2 hands. He used both. She watched his face like she was checking for cracks. You good? She asked. I'm wired, he said. I'll sleep. Playlist? She offered. Send it, he said. She nodded once. Night. He lay in bed and watched the ceiling crack until his eyes learned it. He fell asleep in pieces. USJ under supervision felt different. More guards. More staff. Less fog machines. 13 smiled softer. Aizawa watched like a hawk in sunglasses. We'll simulate race elements, 13 said. No villains, they added wryly. But Kaminari said. 1 villain per field trip, please. Mina led the warm-up like a chaotic coach. Hips. She yelled. Ankles. Tongues, oh, wait. That's for Froppy. Sue blinked. Tongue stretches are helpful. I'm sorry Kaminari said, unable to not be Kaminari. Focus Momo cut in. We'll run 3 laps of varied terrain. No quirk used beyond mobility and safety. Rude Bakugo said. Practice Momo said. Baran. The ravine was a mess of narrow beams and swinging ropes. Izuku kept float off and engaged only when someone slipped. Sue moved like it was a playground. Achako laughed even while wobbling. Kyoka cursed quietly and made it anyway. Mina slid on a handrail and stuck the landing with jazz hands. Momo crossed steady. Bakugo refused to touch ropes and used explosions illegally anyway. Aizawa raced him and he cussed decorative curses. Robots rolled in the second zone. Slow. Sturdy. Izuku tried not to punch them. He redirected. He used their mass to hop. He used their arms as rails. He learned the timing on the pivot joints. Momo timed with him and nodded like she was saving it. The minefield was taped XS, not explosives. They still made your heart jump. Achako grinned and tiptoed like a cartoon. She stepped on one deliberately and floated midair, stuck in place, laughing. Cheater. Penalty Momo said, smiling despite herself. By the 3rd lap, their jerseys clung. Their breaths inced. The field felt like theirs. They broke for water. Bakugo glared at All Might's shadow where it hung over the wall. You going to judge us? He yelled. All Might poked his head in like a curious giant. I am judging everyone equally. Thanks Bakugo muttered. Aizawa herded them back to buses before anyone could get ideas. He walked the aisle on the ride back. He stopped by Izuku and glanced at his hands. You're not tapping. I am Izuku said. Inside. Keep it inside Aizawa said. At the festival, you'll want to show off. Don't. Show enough. Understood he said. Aizawa nodded and moved on. Mina stuck her tongue out when he passed just to see if he'd erase it. He didn't. She pouted. No fun. Lots of fun Kyoka muttered. Different kind. The weeks filled themselves. Study. Drill. Laugh. Sleep. Repeat. They rotated sub-teams per Momo's chart. Izuku ran physics drills with Achako until both could do the math with their eyes closed. He did silence drills with Tsu and learned how to read her blinking. He sparred Bakugo twice a week and made it a rule to leave without blood. He sparred Kirishima and learned 3 new ways to lose on purpose. He worked with Kyoka on rhythm entry timing and found he could time Black Whip pops to her beat and come out smoother. He ran strategy boards with Momo and stopped pretending he wasn't thrilled. He ate lunch with all of them, sometimes all at once, sometimes in pairs. Each felt different. Each felt necessary. With Achako, it was easy. She talked dreams in small words that felt big. I want money she admitted once, cheeks pink. For my parents. Practical heroism. Practical is heroic he said. She nodded hard. Okay then. With Mina, it was energy. She told stories that ended in wild hand gestures. She asked for truths and didn't run from them. What's your worst habit? She asked. Overthinking he said. Liar, she said. That's not a habit. That's a climate. He laughed so hard he choked on rice. With Kyoka, it was quiet. She handed him one earbud and didn't ask for adjectives. Her sarcasm was a blanket, not a weapon. You're getting less twitchy she said one day. I'm trying he said. You're doing she corrected. With Tsu, it was steady. She said things that made him pause and reconsider. You look at exits when you enter rooms she observed. Me too. Habit he said. Survival, she said. With Momo, it was plans. And also, sometimes, not plans. She confessed she watched cooking shows for the engineering. He confessed he watched them for the feelings. She laughed until she snorted once and then pretended she hadn't. 3 days to the festival, Aizawa posted the schedule and a note. You're on your own. They weren't, obviously. They had each other. But the message landed. They moved like separate people again. They slept earlier. They texted less. They saved energy. The stadium morning hit like a parade. Noise, color, cameras. The stands were packed. Pro heroes ate fast food in the VIP box and pretended not to judge. Izuku stood with his class under a tunnel and bounced once to wake his calves. He looked to his left. Achako bounced twice and smiled a little too bright. To his right, Mina vibrated like a soda. Kyoka rolled her shoulders. Tsu blinked slowly. Momo breathed in squares. Present Mick screamed over everything. Midnight waved a whip for no reason but drama. The march onto the field felt like stepping onto a stage while also being expected to not act. Smile Mina whispered. Neutral Momo advised. Izuku did both at once and probably looked strange. It was fine. The crowd roared for one anyway. He felt it hit his skin and not his bones. Midnight explained rules with flourish. Obstacle race first, 3 laps around the stadium, hazards included. Robots. Ravine. Minefield. Random. He looked at Momo and Achako. They didn't look back. It wasn't cold. It was focus. The starting line was a throbbing knot. Class 1B made noise. General studies glared like they wanted blood. Support course wheeled machines like excited children with knives. Ready? Midnight purred. Danger sense prickled. Not danger. Tension. Go. The bottleneck slammed shut immediately, the tunnel out. Everyone tried to cram. People shoved. People tripped. Izuku didn't push. He ducked. He slid low. Float kissed his shoulders, just enough to make him smaller. He scraped under a knee and popped out into air in the top 10. The three-pointer robot loomed. Kaminari whooped and fried one. Todoroki froze a path with a wave of cold that made Izuku's teeth ache. Bakugo blasted high and laughed. Kirishima hardened and took a punch for fun. Izuku chose not to brawl. He cut angles. He stepped on arms and shoulders and moved through the metal like it was a crowded train. He tapped Fajin in tight beats. Black Whip flicked to redirect a falling plate away from a general studies kid's face. The kid gaped. Izuku didn't look back. Sure enough, as Awa had said. He would. Todoroki's ice made lanes and traps both. Izuku vaulted one and felt frost tug at his soles. He pulsed heat through his calves, not fire, but friction and output, and kept traction. They hit the ravine. Single beams. Swing ropes. A death line below. People bunched again. He took the air. Float, but not high. Hands out. Black Whip anchoring to posts with a rhythm he and Kyoka had built. He danced across without falling in love with his own reflection. He saw Achako jump 3 beams and smile because she trained that fear out. He saw Tsu move like water. He saw, also, a general studies boy slip and hang by one hand, eyes enormous. Izuku didn't think. He flicked a thread of whip, caught wrist, swung him back onto a beam. Thanks. The boy gasped. Though Izuku said, and did. Minefield ahead glittered cruel under sun. Dust cloaked it. Todoroki attempted to freeze it and set off too. Boom boom. He scowled and adjusted. Bakugo cackled and hopped like a madman, hair whipping. Izuku crouched. He put his palm to the ground. He pushed float not into himself but into a thin layer above the dirt. A skin of 0G across a rectangle. He stepped onto it, weightless on weightlessness. It held as long as his focus held. He crossed, calves screaming from the micro-corrections. Sure enough, he muttered, sweat in his eyes. Mina slid a path with a kiss of acid that didn't eat soil, only dust. Her chemistry notebook had 3 new entries this week. She winked at him mid-skid. He almost tripped. Ioka hit a mine on purpose at the edge and flipped with a laugh. Style points. Tsu Frog jumped. Elegant. Efficient. Expected. Lap 1 done. 2 to go. The second lap added moving platforms in the ravine. He went slower. He counted the beats. He used Fajin like punctuation. He felt the bees rise and pushed them back with breath. Todoroki gained lead with a sheet of ice under his shoes. Bakugo jazzed, explosions painting the air. The stadium ate it up. Izuku let them have the front while he cut clean and consistent. On the minefield, a support kid from Hatsume's class rolled through on a bouncing harness that set off an entire row like a drum solo. She laughed into a headcam and yelled babies. To her gadgets. Midnight sighed like a tired ant. Lap 3. Legs burning now. Focus fraying. He kept it. Danger sense spiked sharp like a needle in skin. A robot he'd counted as down twitched. Its arm swung, blind. He adjusted without thinking and met the blow with a palm full of force that was more redirect than strike. The arm skidded past a civilian worker who hadn't moved fast enough. The man looked up, stunned. Izuku didn't wave. He didn't pose. He kept moving. Points mattered. People mattered more. He hit the final stretch side by side with Todoroki and Bakugo 4 strides ahead. Achako was 5 back, breathing hard and grinning stubborn. Tsu was calm at 7. Kyoka cursed her way in at 9 with a smile that said she'd earned every meter. Momo was steady as a clock at 11, eyes already on the cavalry board. The tape snapped. Bakugo first, Todoroki second. Izuku third. The stadium roared like it hadn't expected him and then remembered he existed. He bent over with hands on knees and let himself feel the burn. He looked up and found Momo's gaze. She nodded once like she'd just checked a box on a plan and moved to the next line. Cavalry teams formed in a hum of whispers and math. Midoriya's name was a high-value headband. People looked at him with greed and caution. Stay with me? Achako asked, breath still fast. Yes, he said. Mina? She called. Obviously, Mina said, grabbing the back. I like chaos. Tsu? He asked. Yes, Tsu said, no flourish. Momo stepped up and looked at him with a question. He felt the pull in the practical wall. Your plan holds better elsewhere, he said softly. She nodded, understood, and pivoted. I'll anchor Todoroki, she decided, and walked away like a strategist moving a knight. Ioka paired with Kaminari and Shiro because sense and chaos liked each other sometimes. Iida went to Todoroki, eyes bright. Kirishima slapped Bakugo and laughed. Let's steal everything. Midnight blew a kiss like a gunshot. Begin. The ring erupted. Headbands flashed. Bodies collided. Tape flew. Ice grew. Explosions barked. Support gear twanged. Izuku crouched low on Ichako's shoulders. Mina held back, tongue out in concentration, acid ready to slick ground. Sue anchored opposite. They moved like a four-person animal. Right. Izuku called. Left. Stop. They juked Shiro's lines. They skated on a whisper of zero-G planes that Ichako created in thin slices at shoe level. Mina threw a slap of neutralized gel that took traction off a charging team and made them skid past. Sue snagged a headband with her tongue and tossed it into Izuku's hand without ever looking. They held mid-ring position because he told them to and they let him. It felt like trust placed gently in his palms, heavier than metal. Todoroki's team moved like a glacier. Calm. Inevitably forward. Momo produced insulation plates to counter Kaminari's bursts. Iida kicked wind. Todoroki reached with ice fingers. Don't fight the wall, Izuku said. Go under. Ichako grinned feral. She set a zero-G bubble under a stretch of ice. It lifted. They slipped under like a fish under a dock. Mina laughed in delight. Sue said, nice, like she'd expected nothing less. Bakugo came like a storm. Kirishima grinned. Kaminari shouted bad ideas. Their aim was Midoriya's headband because, of course, it was. Hakan Izuku called, breath even. 5 meters. Shut up, Bakugo snarled, but he checked his range because he always did. The explosion hit 4 meters out, safe for them and the crowd. Growth, ugly and real. Ioka's team tried a sandwich maneuver. Izuku pivoted them between metal and sound. He timed his calls to her beat. She smirked when she realized. Cheater. Partner, he called back. Time melted weird in the ring. Minutes felt like seconds, felt like forever. When the buzzer blew, their headbands were still bright on Izuku's forehead. Their lungs were on fire. Their smiles were big. Mina lay across Ichako's back for a second and panted, I love us. Me too, Ichako said, giddy. Sue nodded. We're good. Izuku looked at all three with something like awe and something like hunger for whatever this could be next. Not now. Later. Ladder steps. He held onto the feeling and breathed around it. Brackets scrolled in the air next. Names slotted into boxes. The crowd oohed and awed like it had money on it. First match for him. Midoriya vs Shiozaki Ibara. He blinked. Vine girl from 1B with eyes like old paintings. He'd seen her pray before the march. He had a feeling she'd take the rules seriously. Strategy? Momo asked, already at his shoulder. He kept it simple. Don't cut. Redirect. Respect. Mina snorted. You're adorable. Don't get strangled, Kyoka said. Don't get cocky, Tsu added. Ichako bumped his fist. Win cute. He stepped into the ring under a throbbing beat of the crowd and Midnight's voice. Shiozaki bowed. He bowed back. Midnight dropped her hand. Vines bloomed like a green tide. He could have sliced them with power. He could have blasted them to mulch. He did neither. He used float like a whisper and black whip like a ribbon. He steered vines away from ankles, coaxed them over boundary, and slipped closes like dancing with someone who liked to lead. He watched her eyes and saw the point where respect landed. She stopped trying to bind and started trying to touch. He let her almost. Then he let her miss. He tapped a vine with his palm and pushed a low, careful pulse through it, not enough to harm, enough to stiffen it. It became a lever for 1 second. He pressed it down. He vaulted. He touched her shoulder and hopped back like he touched a hot stove. She smiled, small and honest. You are very gentle. I try, he said. He won by ring out. She accepted it with grace. The crowd didn't boo. It didn't know how to boo that. Backstage, the girls clustered him without trying to look like they clustered him. Mina bumped his hip. That was pretty. Ichako hugged him and pretended it was quick. It wasn't. He didn't mind. Kyoka smacked his shoulder. Next time punch, she said, but her mouth was soft. Sue adjusted his collar. Your glove is torn. He looked. It was. He hadn't felt it amid the bees. Thanks, he said. Momo already had a new one. Of course she did. Here, she said. Reinforced. Thank you, he said again, throat tight with everything. The next bracket name made the room shift. Midoriya vs Todoroki. Silence where noise had been. Then buzz. Then whispers. Then Bakugo's laugh, sharp and hungry. Mina whistled. Spicy. Ichako looked at him, eyes big. Be careful. Ioka's eyes flicked to his legs. Don't gearshift dumb. Sue blinked slow. Be kind. Momo touched his elbow. Strategy, she said. He thought in fast lines. He's ice first. He doesn't use fire. He will try to freeze the field and control pace. I won't play his board. How? Momo asked. Heir, he said. Stamina, she warned. I know, he said. He stepped out to the roar and saw Todoroki already there, expression calm as snow. Midoriya, Todoroki said. Please don't hold back. I won't, Izuku said, and meant a version of it. Midnight's arm dropped. Ice exploded across the ring in a blue-white sheet. The temperature fell like a body. Breath smoked. Izuku stepped onto Heir. He set float 4 centimeters up, enough to dodge friction and trap. He moved on nothing. It cost him concentration. It ate his calves. He kept his quirk output separate like wires labeled in his head. Todoroki's eyes flicked, surprised, and then went flat again. More ice. Bigger. He built a palace. Izuku didn't climb it. He skimmed. He snapped Black Whip like a line to pillars that formed in seconds and used them to slingshot. He pulsed Fajin in tiny releases to skate his nothing floor faster. He touched a pillar once with a gloved palm and pushed heat in a focused pop that made a crack split it just enough to weaken the next wave. Show enough, he told himself. But not too much. Todoroki exhaled frost. He stepped and stepped. He got closer. Izuku stopped running. He faced him. He let his air floor float him down to eye height. He spoke quiet enough that the crowd didn't hear and Todoroki did. It's yours. Todoroki's eyes flinched. What? Their power, Izuku said. If you hate part of it, it still belongs to you. The next sheet of ice came jagged. Less smooth. More human. Izuku slipped through it and stepped into Todoroki's space, not a strike, a touch. He put a hand on Todoroki's shoulder and said, you don't have to use it for him. Todoroki's breath fogged between them. His eyes widened and then narrowed like a lens focusing. He ticked at Izuku's cheek. A spark, not a flame. A smear of red at the edge of blue. The stadium went silent for a second like it forgot to breathe. Todoroki cocked his arm for a close blast of frost. Izuku slipped the line with a float drop and tapped Todoroki's knee with a Fajin pop, a clean off-balance move. Todoroki stumbled. Izuku guided, not shoved. He used Black Whip like a line on a boat and turned the force. Todoroki's heel kissed the boundary. Bring out. Silence. Then sound like a falling building. Half shock. Half glory. Half anger from people who liked meltdowns. Math failed the crowd. It made noise anyway. Todoroki stood there, breathing fog, eyes wide and something else. He looked at Izuku like a mirror that had surprised him. Later, Izuku said, gently. Talk later. Todoroki nodded once, sharp. He walked out like a soldier, not a son. The stadium kept roaring. Midnight said words. Izuku didn't hear them. He walked back to his people and found them with faces like weather. Mina hugged him and shook him. You said therapy in a fight. Ioka wiped at her eyes like something had flown in. You're so annoying, she said, voice rough. Sue put a hand on his wrist and squeezed once. Good, she said. Ichako's smile trembled. You're ridiculous, she whispered and then kissed his cheek so fast his brain lagged. She didn't apologize. She didn't look away. Win. Momo exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for a minute. You adjusted mid-style. I cheated, he said. You told the truth, she said. He sat. He stretched his calves before they seized. He drank water without spilling. He texted All Might a period. All Might texted back a period and a photo of the cat again, enlarged and blurry. He smiled like a fool into his towel. Next match loomed. His bees were loud again, but not screaming. The girls clustered around him without smothering. Bakugo paced the edge of the staging area like a comet on a leash and looked at him like a promise. The festival roared. The day kept going. The ladder waited. He put a foot on the next rung with careful hands. The noise never really stopped. It just dipped and surged like a tide. Izuku sat with a towel around his neck while the stadium tried to decide if it had just watched a fight or a conversation with ice. Mina stuck a sticker on his knee. Therapy gremlin. Ioka snorted. He's not a gremlin, he's a raccoon. Small hands. Too clever. Sue blinked at both of them. Raccoons wash their food. Midoriya washes his plans. Momo handed him another bottle of water like she'd read dehydration in his posture. Calves. Hot, he admitted, rolling one ankle. Float taxes stabilizers. Sit there, she said, already pulling elastic tape from thin air. I'll brace them lightly. He obeyed because arguing with good tape was weird. Ichako crouched in front of him and grinned, soft and wobbly. You okay? I'm okay, he said. You? I forgot to breathe for 30 seconds, she said. Then I remembered. Same, Kyoka deadpanned. The shadow cut their little circle. Todoroki stood just outside it, jaw set, eyes clear. He met Izuku's gaze and bowed the smallest bow a proud person can bow. Thank you, he said. No theatrics. Just wait. Izuku nodded. You know where we are if you want to talk. No rush. Todoroki's mouth twitched like it didn't know how to be a smile. After the festival, he said, and walked away to sit alone, not isolated, just quiet. Mina exhaled, impressed. You cracked an iceberg. I tapped it, Izuku said. The sun will do the rest. Poet Kyoka accused. He hid behind the towel. No. The board updated with brutal indifference. Quarterfinals rolled. Fights burned quick. Sato bulldozed someone with raw sugar and then ran out of juice. Yayoi Rozu lost to Tokoyami on a rules technicality she would autopsy later. Kaminari blasted and fried and gave Midnight a headache. Kirishima and Tetsu headbutted until the audience asked for neck braces in sympathy. Izuku's next bracket blinked alive. Midoriya vs Iida. Ichako whistled low. Engines. Rules boy Mina grinned. You're going to bait him so hard. I won't be mean, Izuku said. Strategic, Momo corrected. Sue tilted her head. Don't trip him. His pride will bruise. Got it, he said. He stood. The tape Momo had laid felt like a reminder not to be stupid. He jogged to the tunnel with his hands loose. Iida waited in the opposite tunnel, helmet visor down, posture perfect. When he saw Izuku, he bowed full. Izuku bowed back. Midnight's arm cut the air. Begin. Iida dashed. Engines howled. The track sang under his soles. Izuku didn't stand still. He set first gear, the smallest hum, and moved diagonally, making Iida cut angles. Iida did, precise and sharp. He loved geometry. He had trained geometry. Izuku gave him shapes that were almost right. Face me. Iida shouted over engine noise. I am, Izuku said, calm. But I won't be your wall. Iida lunged for a grab. Izuku used float to shave friction off his pivot, slid half a step, and tapped Iida's forearm with Fajin-like punctuation, not force. It nudged his vector. Iida overshot by a handspan, boot squealing. He didn't fall. He corrected mid-step. Nice. But Izuku said, genuine. Iida gritted his teeth and kicked into recipro burst. Speed spiked. The stadium gasped. Izuku didn't chase top speed. He changed the game. Smokescreen. No, that would choke him too. Black whip. Risky near engines. He picked pressure. He threw a palm at the ground, not strength, just a thin, flat slap of force that made dust skitter sideways in a line. Iida hit it and his traction lied for a heartbeat. He stumbled. Izuku stepped in, grabbed sleeve, used his own momentum as a lever, borrowed jujitsu he drilled at 6 a.m. until Izawa admitted he noticed and turned. He set float under Iida's shoulders for 1 second to keep him from planting, then removed it and guided him out with a gentle shove. Ring out. Clean. No crash. No showy throw. Iida slid, caught himself, blinked behind his visor, then lifted it and grinned like a kid at a science fair. That was elegant. Your control's excellent, Izuku said, breathing a little harder. You adjusted really fast. I will adjust faster. Iida declared, completely sincere. He grabbed Izuku's hand with both of his and shook it like a sad blender. Thank you. Anytime, Izuku managed, bones rattling. Back under the shade, Mina clapped his cheeks lightly. You gentlemened him out of the ring. You'll sleep happy, Tsu said, approving. Hyoka leaned a shoulder into his. You're pacing yourself. Good. Momo checked the board again. Final shaping, she murmured, brain-moving pieces. Todoroki vs Bakugo in the other semi. You get the winner. Ichako's hand found his sleeve for one breath and then left. Who do you want? I don't want, he said honestly. I want to be ready. Good answer, Momo said. They watched the other semi together. Todoroki walked out with a little fire under his skin, literal, figurative. Bakugo walked out like a storklet that had learned to cuss. Midnight dropped her hand. Ice roared. Explosions barked. The ring turned into a weather map. Todoroki tried to set pace. Bakugo refused pace like it owed him money. Eyes, Kyoka said. Look at their eyes. Todoroki's eyes were steady, focused on vectors. Bakugo's were bright, cruel, smart, always checking for the breach. Mina grinned. He's not tunnel visioning. Brotsu said. Momo hummed. Katsuki is feathering output better. Less scatter. Ichako chewed her lip. Shoto's not opening. He wasn't. He used measured ice and never crossed the line inside himself that Izuku had nudged earlier. He fought clean and calm. Bakugo got mad at the calm. He got very precise at the calm. It ended with a blast that carved the air at a diagonal and Todoroki skidding a toe over boundary. Midnight's hand chopped. Bakugo threw both arms up and looked at the sky like he'd eaten lightning for breakfast. He didn't look at Izuku. He didn't need to. The crackle ran between them anyway. Finals, Mina whispered, giddy. Spicy. Hyoka elbowed Izuku lightly. Don't die. Sue patted his sleeve once. Don't break. Momo adjusted the tape on his calves like a ritual and met his eyes. If he goads, you don't mirror. You redirect. Redirect, he echoed. Ichako's hand hovered, then settled on his shoulder, warm. Win or lose, don't be alone in there. I won't, he said. He stepped out. Noise again. A sea of faces. A ring of chalk dust and expectations. Bakugo rolled his shoulders and grinned like a knife that had learned manners. Nerd. Hakan Izuku said. You gonna babysit me again? Bakugo asked, prowling left. I'm going to fight you, Izuku said, level. But Bakugo said. Midnight's hand cut the air. The world narrowed. Bakugo led with a low explosion that kissed the ground and threw grit. Izuku floated a centimeter to bleed the shock and didn't backpedal. He stepped in. Bakugo's eyes lit finally and he grinned wider. They traded. Not the way they had as kids, with panic and wounds. This was language. Bakugo spoke in blasts that angled. Izuku answered with pivots that stole angles. Bakugo tried to bait him into top gear. Izuku refused. He used first and second like notes, saving the chorus. Stop hiding, Bakugo snarled, catching his forearm with a glancing palm and searing the air against his sleeve. I'm not, Izuku said and slipped a black whip flick around Bakugo's wrist. It wasn't to bind. It was to borrow. He redirected the next explosion sideways with a tug. The shock slapped the ring a meter away. Safe. The crowd roared. Pro heroes leaned forward. Aizawa's scarf twitched. All Might watched with his jaw tight and his eyes soft. Still babysitting, Bakugo barked, furious, and some bone-deep part of Izuku recognized it grateful. Still fighting, Izuku shot back and popped Fajin in a condensed heel tap that knocked Bakugo off center without turning him into a meteor. Bakugo skidded, planted, laughed. You learn to be annoying. From you, Izuku said. Bakugo's grin flashed teeth. He stopped flailing wide. He went small. Clean arcs. Efficient palms. He had watched Might for years and had decided he'd be his own kind of Might. Izuku felt the bees rise in his skull and didn't push them down this time. He listened. They buzzed when Bakugo's hip dipped a half centimeter before his right palm flared. They warned when a double blast fake load telegraphed a real left hook. He let the warnings live and didn't overreact. He let them be a pulse under the music. 2 seconds, the second said inside, dry. You'll want it. I'll save it, Izuku said. They circled. The ring bearers in the front row leaned back whenever they got too close, then forward again. Bakugo's breath came sharp. Izuku's legs burned. He'd been careful all day. His engine wanted to rev. Fine, Bakugo hissed, eyes alight. Third act. He blew himself backwards into the sky with a layered detonation, palms carving steps, then angled down at a speed that made the air complain. He wasn't aiming at Izuku. He was aiming at the ring to turn it into his explosion domain. Izuku didn't chase up. He went down. He slammed a palm into the ground and pushed force outward in a ring to meet the shockwave, not cancel it, shape it. The boom came and his force guided it like a curved hand, sending the blast up and around instead of straight into the stands. The stadium gasped when dust made a halo instead of a crater. Bakugo hit his own reshaped shock, eyes widening mid-drop when his landing didn't land. Hi, Izuku said, already moving. He stepped on air once to reset balance, then used 2 seconds of higher gear, only 2, like the second had allowed, to slip inside Bakugo's guard and tap his wrist, then his knee, then his shoulder in 3 knee pops that disrupted direction. Not breaks. Bends. Bakugo twisted in air like a cat. He caught himself with a late blast and landed ugly but on his feet, teeth bared, hair wild. He stared at Izuku, chest heaving, and something in his face shifted. Rage stayed. Respect joined it. Coward, he said, but it came out wrong. It came out like friend. Izuku didn't answer. He didn't have something neat to say. He had another choice. He could press and win ugly. He could overextend and give Bakugo the last laugh. Or. Enough, he told himself, and meant it. Bakugo came one more time, fast and low, hand flat. Izuku met him palm to palm. The explosion bloomed a small one. They both chose that and shoved both of them back 2 steps. Chalk dust puffed. The crowd broke into pieces of noise. Midnight's hand rose. Not yet. Not yet. They both reset in the same breath, like kids who trained the same backyard. Izuku feinted a whip. Bakugo didn't bite. He went over the feint, under the idea, through the gap, and set a blast behind Izuku's heel to kill his pivot. Izuku used float to cheat that physics by a centimeter. He stepped onto nothing and stole the angle back. Ring edge. Too close. He could force a grab. He didn't. He borrowed it. He offered Bakugo his forearm again. Bakugo took it because he always did, because he trusted his own violence. Izuku guided that trust into a turn. He didn't throw him. He showed him the line. Bakugo took the rest on his own stubborn power and stepped an inch past boundary. Silence snapped, then shattered. Whistles. Cheers. Curses. Present Mick breaking his voice. Midnight slashed her hand. Winner. Midoriya. Bakugo stood there and breathed like he'd swallowed thunder. He stared at the chalk and then at Izuku and then at the sky again like it had the answers. He kicked the line like it had assaulted his family. He walked to Izuku and stopped too close. "You didn't babysit," he said. "I fought you," Izuku said. Bakugo's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. "I'm still going to murder you later." "I know," Izuku said and grinned because it was the language they shared. They didn't hug. Of course they didn't. They bumped shoulders like a car crash and trudged off in opposite directions like they needed to cool their engines before they burned their own hands. The world wanted cameras and speeches. Midnight wanted flair. All Might wanted to clap him on the back hard enough to break ribs and then not. Aizawa wanted him to ice and shut up. He found his people. Mina launched herself at him and stopped just shy, vibrating. "That was so you. Like, you were a bruise in human form. Soft and ouch." Ioka wiped eyes she would deny later. "You two are disasters," she said. "It worked." Sue pressed a cold pack to his calf without asking. "Sit," she ordered. "Please." He sat. Momo knelt and checked his taped legs. "Good?" she asked. "Good," he said. Buzzing. The Chaco cupped his cheek with one palm and kissed the other cheek because balance, because courage, because she wasn't hiding her joy. "Winner," she whispered. His ears went hot. "Team," he whispered back. The podium ceremony was neon and awkward. He stood with Bakugo scowling silver and Todoroki stone still at bronze. The medals felt heavier than they were. All Might leaned in for his usual "you are the future," but his eyes said "you are okay." Izuku gave a tiny nod. All Might's shoulders lowered a centimeter like he'd been holding up the sky and found out it had a prop. Hammers popped. Sponsors clapped. The anthem of "You did it, now do it again" played on loop in 100 polite smiles. After, the stadium drained like a bathtub. The air cooled. The buzz faded to a hum. Class 1 found corners to breathe in. They didn't go out for big celebrations. They went to the little ice cream shop that Mina had declared sacred. It was crowded with support corps students and a pro hero pretending to be a lamp. They squeezed into a booth built for 4 and made it fit 6 with elbows and care. Mina tapped spoons to glasses. "Speech." "No," Kyoka said. "Speech." Mina insisted. Momo raised a hand like she was in court. "We learned. We showed enough. We kept each other in check. I am proud." Kyoka made a face. "That was a good speech." "Rude." "I have more," Momo said, deadpan. Sue licked her mint with the focus of a surgeon. "You didn't break," she told Izuku. "Good." "I wanted to," he said. "Honesty first." "I know," she said. The Chaco scooped strawberry like it had wronged her, then smiled and leaned her knee against his under the table. "I'm really proud of you," she said, small voice, big truth. He swallowed past a lump in his throat. "I'm proud of us." Mina banged the table. "Group selfie." Kyoka groaned. "We look like trash." Mina took 2. One where they made faces. One where they didn't pretend anything. That one was good. Phones buzzed with congratulations and noise. The group chat went feral for an hour and then softened into frog stickers and sleep emojis. Zero posted a meme of Bakugo's scowl. Bakugo replied with a photo of Zero's tape stuck to his own face. Kirishima laughed in emojis that weirdly felt like him. They filtered out into night, the city cooler, the stadium lights aglow in the distance. Izuku and Momo walked 2 blocks together with the quiet of post-adrenaline. "You planned restraint and executed it," she said. "That is rare." "It felt like stacking cards in wind," he admitted. "You chose to keep the table level," she said. He smiled. "Thank you. For everything." "I like building things," she said, soft. "This is my favorite project." He nearly tripped. "We're not a project. We're a team," she corrected. "I don't build people. I build paths. You all walk." "That's better," he said, relieved. Ioka peeled out of the shadow of a bus stop and fell into step like she'd just been leaning there for air. She looked at Momo, then at Izuku, then rolled her eyes good-naturedly. "You two and your metaphors." "We have one," Momo said. "It's efficient." Ioka handed Izuku one earbud. The song was low, steady, warm. "For your bees," she said. "They're purring," he said. "Bro," she said, but she smiled. They split at the station. Sue texted a frog sticker and proud. Mina texted glitter forever. Achako texted a heart and then another because the first felt lonely. Momo sent a calendar invite for light training, reflection, snacks. Hakan dropped a single skull. Then, 2 minutes later. "Don't go soft." He typed back. "I want. Don't go hard in the wrong direction." "Shut up," came the reply, followed by a blurry photo of Bakugo's medal hanging on a doorknob. The caption said nothing. Izuku read it anyway. "Home with steam and soup and a hug that didn't ask for explanations." Inko held his face and then his hands like she could check his bones through skin. "I saw you smile," she said. "I smiled," he said. She nodded like that was the real victory and shoot him to the shower. Hot water turned chalk dust into rivulets. His calves finally unclenched. He leaned on tile and replayed the touches, the right ones, in his head. Momo's tape. Sue's cold pack. Kyoka's song. Mina's laughter. Echako's kiss that had been less like a shock and more like a door. He lay on his bed after, hair damp, metal on the desk where he could forget it. The vestige space breathed in, not out. Banjo whistled. "Hey, champ." Peizuku said. "You guided blasts like a river," Banjo said, delighted. "That was art." A third nodded. "You controlled pace." "Good." The second eyed him. 2 seconds. "You kept it to 2. "I promised," Izuku said. Nana smiled, soft and proud. "You didn't make the crowd your god." "I heard my friends louder," he said. All Might appeared at the edge, small in the space, big in his heart. "Young Midoriya." "Toshinori," Izuku said, because the space made him honest. "You were. Yourself," All Might said, voice thick. "I like that boy." "I like him, too," Izuku said, and the space warmed. He texted the group chat good night. Responses came. Stickers, plans, dumb jokes. Todoroki sent nothing. Then, minutes later. "Coffee. Talk. Tomorrow." Izuku smiled. "Yes." Sleep came fast when he let it. He dreamed of a ring that didn't end and friends who kept calling his name until he didn't need to ask if he belonged. Morning brought sour everything and a quieter school. Pro heroes loitered with sponsorship packets. Agents circled like stylish sharks. Aizawa held a stack of forms and a headache. "Don't sign anything without a lawyer," he said. "Don't give interviews alone. Don't believe anyone who says you owe them." Mina raised her hand. "What about glitter endorsements?" "No," Aizawa said, without looking up. Momo distributed a short savage memo about brand management that made Kyoka say corporate queen under her breath. Echako put sticky notes on the memo that said we should read this with little stars drawn. Tsu practiced tongue stretches that made Kaminari blush and then apologized to the air. At lunch, the 6 of them found their table like always. It was somehow both theirs and not theirs because the world had shifted a degree and kept going. Todoroki slid into the seat beside Izuku without drama, a tray with soup and rice, and a focus that said he'd decided to stop burning alone. "Hey," Izuku said. "Hello," Todoroki said. "Thank you." "You said that." "I will say it again," Todoroki said, earnestly stubborn. Mina grinned. "Welcome to Not Weird Friends." Ioka pointed at Todoroki with a chopstick. "We're frogs." "I'm fine with that," Todoroki said, deadpan. They laughed. It sounded like a team. Between bites, they made plans that were small and huge. Study sessions. Support course visits. A trip to see Momo's favorite stationery store. A night where Kyoka would make them listen to actual albums, not playlists. A morning run where Tsu would set the pace. A weekend where Ichako would drag them to a cheap amusement park because she had coupons. Mina would bring glitter and then apologize to Aizawa when it ended up in his scarf. Izuku wrote none of it down and remembered all of it anyway. On his way back to class, a second year with a camera stepped into his path. "Midoriya, right. Interview for the school paper." Izuku opened his mouth to reject gently. Momo appeared like a friendly ghost. "Media requests through me, thank you," she said, smile polite and sharp. The second year wilted and nodded and left. Izuku blinked. "You didn't have to." "I like protecting my people's focus," she said. "You can say no louder later. For now, we manage." He nodded. "Thank you." She studied his face. "You're thinking." "I'm always thinking," he admitted. "About what now?" He exhaled. "About pace. About not getting pulled into someone else's sprint." Momo's smile warmed. "We will run your race," she said. "Together." "Together," he echoed, and meant it. Training resumed. They didn't coast. Aizawa made sure of that. The sports festival became a past thing they were grateful for and then let go of. Real training got harder. New tests slid in like knives wrapped in homework. One late afternoon, Aizawa tossed a bundle at Izuku. It was heavy and awkward. "New assignment," he said. "Urban night rescue. Limited power use. You and Yayoi Rozu co-lead." "Night?" Izuku asked. "These behave different at night," Aizawa said, as if that was a normal teacher sentence. "Learn them." Momo met his eyes and nodded. "We'll brief at 7. He smiled, tired and happy. "We'll brief at 7. The sun dropped. The city lit. They met on the roof with harnesses and quiet plans. Kyoka handed him an earbud with a low beat for the dark. Tsu pressed a hand warmer into his palm without comment. Mina strapped a reflective band around his arm and said, "Safety, baby." Ichako squeezed his hand once and didn't let go until Aizawa coughed. They dropped into the maze and moved like a team. The story didn't end. It didn't try to. It kept finding new ladders, new rungs, new places to stop and breathe and admit fear and step anyway. Izuku felt the hum under his skin and didn't wish it away. He named it. He used it. He kept it soft when he could and sharp when he had to. He didn't do it alone. That was the point. That was the promise. He kept it. Chapter end.
Watch daily, exclusive, uncensored lemon fanfictions featuring Naruto, Deku, Issei, Ichigo, and many other anime characters, available only on my Patreon. Link is in the description.